Today we're gonna take a walk down memory lane together. Behind me are all of my eyeshadow palettes. I have a huge collection, basically a palette archive at this point because I got some old stuff in there. And I don't know, I've just been feeling nostalgic. It's no secret that mainstream brands are not coming out with palettes like they used to. They're basically dead and extinct, unfortunately. You can still find them from indie brands, so definitely check them out. And weirdly, I've been noticing that designer brands are coming out with like larger limited edition palettes, which is interesting. But we're not getting things like the Modern Renaissance palette from ABH. There would be no hype for Too Faced Sweet Peach palette today, and no one is begging Lorac to come out with another Mega Pro. I thought we could get a little nostalgic, go through my collection. I've sorted them all A through Z. I thought it might be easier to kind of navigate if you want to get to different sections, but obviously it's a lot, so let's get into it.
All right, we're starting with letter A, and first on the list is Adept Cosmetics. I have 3 different palettes. This palette was a collaboration with Amy from Amy Loves Makeup. This is her Adept collaboration, and it was all like cool toned. It also came with a blush palette as well, but there are some really, really beautiful duochromes in here. Oh wow, this one, Indie, is like literally the epitome of indie shadows. It's like a holographic, I think. Super, super pretty. The other 2 that I have here, I have the Ninhydrin and also the Heather Austin palette, another collab. I think actually though, on the inside of my Ninhydrin is a mix of the Plain Jane palette and the Ninhydrin, if I'm not mistaken, or some singles I had at one time. So this is kind of a bit of a Franken palette. It's not what the actual Ninhydrin, if that still is even sold from them, but I really love so many. Like, this is my type of shadow right here. Like, I love that. I will be a sucker for that in any palette. And then this is another collab with Heather Austin. I have a few of her palettes. This one's stunning. I love this pink. Oh, I love that. So pretty. Adept's like shimmer formula a lot of the times are pretty soft, a little squishy. Okay, next, get ready, you guys. These are all of my Alter Ego palettes. I have so many of them because I'm an affiliate with them, which I'll leave all my affiliate codes down below for any of the brands that have palettes that'll be in here. But they do a lot of dupes, so a lot of these are dupes of Natasha Denona palettes. There's some Huda Beauty ones, and also I believe this one's more of like an ABH dupe. So quickly show you the insides of each palette because honestly, this could be its own video. There's so much here, and as much as I know we're all down with a long video, we have a lot of fun stuff to get to. And there will be a whole Natasha Denona section that literally has all these again. So first here, this is the Sakura palette. And as you can tell, this is a dupe for the Natasha Denona Retro Glam palette. This is the Sundown palette. I believe this is a dupe for the My Dream palette. This one is Dream Gaze, which is a dupe for the Pastel palette. Daylight's really pretty. This is a dupe for the I Need a Nude. This one's actually gotten some good rotation from me since I love the I Need a Nude, and I really like the textures. I do think overall, Alter Ego is great for a dupe price point if you want that color story and a lot of those finishes as well. This is the Mystique palette, which I believe is the Circo Loco dupe. It's good I'm doing this because honestly, it's a little bit of a blast from the past for me. It really is walking down memory lane. All right, here's Willowwood. This is a Yucca palette dupe. Look at that. Oh, this is doing exactly what it's supposed to, which is inspiring me, getting me excited about all my makeup, and just getting me in a more creative place with it as well. Next is Sunlit Dreams. This, I believe, is a I Need a Warm palette. Then we have the Harmony palette. This is like mauve-y. It's like a dupe of the Retro palette. And last for the palettes in this kind of format and series, this is the Amber Glow palette, which I think is the Golden palette. The only one I have that's like a dupe of the Anastasia palettes is Midsummer, which I believe is the Nouveau palette, which I have right here since Anastasia is next. And you can see there that although the colors are in different places, like it is a lot of the same. And even here, let's see. They are very close dupes overall, I would say. Getting ahead of myself though. The last 3 I have here from Alter Ego are all fashioned after, I believe, Huda Beauty palettes, like the big ones. Mist Haven, I believe is a grunge palette dupe. This next one's Mirage, which this one is a dupe for the Empowered palette. And last here is Coastal. And this one is one of my all-time favorites. Like I just, again, I'm a sucker for these kind of lighter iridescent shades, especially something that has like a warmer base, but then like a blue tealy shift. Like that's my favorite. This is a dupe of the Rose Quartz palette. Okay, I hope I went through those fast enough. I feel like since they are dupes, like I have right here the same palette. So next is Anastasia. I have two of these. I got them on really good deals, so that's why I ended up trying them. But this really feels like almost like third wave Anastasia palettes. These aren't like the modern renaissance or anything kind of in that format, but they're kind of these interesting and rich color stories that still have a neutrality to them. Pretty powdery though. Oh my gosh. Okay. I love sparkle, but I also do love like a metallic or even a satin right now. I'm loving that. Anyway, that's the Nouveau palette, which we kind of already saw. And then this one is the Rose Metals palette, which is just so grungy, a really beautiful color story, a little dark overall for what I wear currently, but as a color story, it definitely sells me the fantasy. Like that is so pretty. And last for A, this is a palette from Aora. They're a luxury makeup brand from Mexico. They did send this out to me and it's a newer palette to my collection. It's really cool. It's actually plastic free. I really love the metal case, and in here there are some different shaped pans, which I know we all have feelings on, but there's something about this that I don't know, I really appreciate. It just feels a little more artistic. It really feels like a painter's palette where you're kind of getting colors you could like mix together almost. I haven't swatched this yet, so it's actually a little more sheer, I guess, than I was expecting, but I feel like you could build them up. The silver definitely has some sparkle and shine to it though. I don't know, I'm excited for this, and in general, I feel like these kind of sculptural palettes or just like the attention to detail on this and kind of just the perspective is something that really intrigues me with makeup. So really excited to dig into this palette more this year. Okay, we're moving on to B's, and I forgot to mention palette wise, I'm considering anything over 6 pans, just so you guys know. I'm not doing anything super small. It would just extend the video so much, and I really wanted to focus in on larger palettes. But coming in alphabetically first, we have Beauty Bakery, which I'm not sure if they're around still. This is one of the reasons that I really have been actually enjoying having my palettes, because so many brands have been shutting down or aren't around anymore, and there's something just nostalgic and having a piece of that. Anyway, this is the Chosen Bun palette, and it's like a cinnamon roll. All their stuff was food themed, that's why it's the Beauty Bakery, but I loved this cool toned palette. It had some really beautiful shimmers. Oh yeah, they're strong. They're so strong, so pretty. I really did love this palette. We're keeping the nostalgia going. This is the Beauty Bay Book of Magic palette. So glad I still have this. This is a pretty big palette to me nowadays, but man, that color story is beautiful. The shimmers, I mean, of course, you know, that's my shit. So pretty. I really do love blues and purples like this together. It's a really stunning color combo, and I think it fits like a witchy theme so well. Okay, next, this is my only palette from Bella Beauté Bar, but if you are into eyeshadow palettes, you love bright colors, like you gotta check them out. This one specifically is actually a collab with Deandra Nicole on Instagram, and it's all purple, the ultraviolet palette. It had some really just stunning shimmers as well as mattes in here, like anything you would need to create a purple eye, it's in this palette. Like, so beautiful. I could literally just like play with eyeshadow forever. Oh my gosh, the bees are throwing it back. Look at this. We got the Zodiac palette from BH Cosmetics. So glad I never decluttered this. To me, this is like an icon in my collection. Pretty sure BH Cosmetics is gone, and this palette, if you were there, you know. It was Zodiac theme. It had baked shadows around the outside, and then it had these mattes on the inside as well as in the center, like a highlighter. Oh my gosh, and the pigment was so good for the price, especially at the time. Like, this was it. Like, stunning. Okay, what a throwback. The BH Cosmetics Zodiac palette. All right, next, I don't know if you knew this, but BK Beauty has a palette. This is the True Beauty eyeshadow palette, which I do have a code with BK Beauty, and this is like all neutrals. I feel like the shimmers perform more how like luxury and designer eyeshadow quads perform. Next, we have some Bobbi Brown. I only have 3 real palettes to include in here. Oh, I shouldn't have included this, but I guess since it's in here, I'm going to, because it's only 4 shadows. Oh, anyway, I have 2 that are like face palettes, and I wanted to show them together because I do feel like they're very similar. They came out at the same time. When they do this baked formula in palettes, I do think it can be a good opportunity to save some money. Some of them are like super sparkly. There's highlighters in here. Like all these powders are great quality, but not all of their palettes I feel like are created equal. So you really got to watch out for it. I feel like a lot of the new holiday collections have been more pressed. And so that's not the formula I really want to pay for. Like I want this nice baked formula. The other thing you want to watch out for on the Bobbi Brown palettes is they do re-release shades. So this is probably Moonstone, which they do in a lot of stuff. It's like a hero color for Bobbi Brown. So depending on what you have, if you don't want repeats, you got to watch out for that. Just thought I would let you know in case, but these long since have been discontinued. These are called the Luxe Eye and Glow palettes. And I think one was like warm and one was cool. The little quad I shouldn't have showed you, but accidentally did. This is a Lunar New Year launch from a few years ago at this point now. Look at this, like absolutely stunning. These are all like 3 super flaky, super beautiful, reflective, kind of like the Patrick Ta shadows. And then this one isn't, but it's a stunning color. It's called Metal Rose. It's this beautiful like taupey metallic, but still kind of rosewood color at the same time. Oh, so stunning. This was one of those quads, man, that I was like, the whole thing, like I want to eat it all. It's all good. We're closing in here on the bees, but next is By Us. This is actually a sister brand to Odin's Eye, which when we get to Odin's Eye, there will be a lot. And it's definitely unique. It's like neon little fruits. They're like dying. Look at this. His tongue's hanging out. I don't know what's going on. Garden Busters palette. Now, once again, we're getting some different shapes. We're getting a very wild color story, I would say. A little bit different. This is one of those ones where, to me, I have to look at each shadow more individually to get inspired than I do by looking at the palette as a whole, if that makes sense. Like just this little butter yellow, we could do something, put that on the inner corner, do a whole yellow eye look. That gets me inspired, and it's like kind of unique, like, you know, to get a powdery yellow like that. Okay, all the squares are mattes, all of the kind of what is that, Pentagon? They're all shimmers, but they're also kind of that squishy cream, and some of them are almost like a tie-dye as well. Like this is orange and blue, which is gonna like neutralize out and turn kind of grayish. Kind of. It's like a little greeny, and then the sparkle on it's teal, but interesting little palette, I'll say that. I'll say that. And last for bees, we have 2 different Byredo palettes. These things are gonna look a little grody, so I apologize. They are mirrored, but they are stunning. And honestly, these palettes to me are a little bit of like collector's items. Like I like them as shadows, but they're just delicious to collect. Okay, let's look at this one first. This one came out fall of 2025, I believe. This is the Bibliophila palette, I believe is how you say that. And this one's a lot of neutrals. I have a few like casualties. I will say the Byredo formula I think is honestly very stunning, and I like looking at this palette like 2 different 9 pans. So you have like this cooler 9 pan, and then you kind of have this more red 9 pan, and I feel like it helps you make sense of the palette a lot more. But I really do like the Byredo formula. I think it's really beautiful. Reminds me of a lot of like luxury eyeshadows, which sometimes can be a little bit more soft in pigmentation, but then again, some of them can be very shiny, just buttery, like that matte blended out. Buttery. So beautiful. This one's the Vesuvio palette, so it has Mount Vesuvius on it. And this one's so much more colorful, as you can see. So beautiful. I feel like some of the blues kind of turn out into the same color, like these gray blues. They're very similar, okay? But again, I am glad to have this palette. It's expensive. These are limited. They kind of sell out fast. And what I was saying before, but I don't think I finished, is that these shadows can be a little fragile. So honestly, I wouldn't order them like from overseas. Like just get them from the Byredo counter, from the Byredo website. What I'm trying to say is I've ordered them from Selfridges, and every time I've done that, they have come broken. So I don't recommend that, but one of the looks I've really loved doing with this is this kind of like blushed eye with this pink shade. It's almost like a rose water. It doesn't have much of a sheen, but it just looks so beautiful, kind of blended into your blush. And then I would top a little bit of that in the inside of my eye, and I really loved that look. So I was doing that a lot. I also liked this blue, like a powdery blue, something a little fun for a single shadow look. So it's less colorful in a way than it looks, but also still is. I don't know. I've never tried looking at it as 9 pans. That's one 9 pan. That's the other. I don't know if it works that way for this one. If you pick this one up, let me know your favorite looks. All right, we have made it to C's, and starting off, I have one palette from Charlotte Tilbury. This was a limited edition holiday palette. I do tend to love the packaging of Charlotte Tilbury limited edition stuff. It's something that really just looks so fun in a collection, so I do appreciate that. And then inside, this is a 9-pan. I honestly didn't love the sparkle formula. I just think there's better ones out there. I mean, it barely gives anything, especially now it's a little dried out, but I remember really loving the mattes, especially this one. And I believe this matte formula is in other palettes from her, which is reminding me, I actually do have another 9-pan. Let me go grab that. Okay, I found it. This one is so little that I kind of forgot it was 9 shades, but this is from the Charlotte's palette of Beautifying Eye Trends collection, and it's the super neutral palette. There were like 6 different ones, I want to say. And honestly, this has been one of my most used palettes since I got it. I freaking love it. I love this shade so much for my lower lash line, and I love the shimmers in here as well. It's kind of basic, but honestly so useful. Really love this. Didn't know if I would, and the packaging on this one's definitely kind of giving Dior backstage versus like regular Dior, you know? But I can't deny I love that thing. Next for C's, this is a palette from Clio, and it's just long and skinny. It's called Hip Gray. It came out with some kind of collection, but I just really liked the tones in this. It has some different shimmers, and I really loved these kind of grayy shades. I feel like they warm up on my skin so much more than you'd think. It's just kind of a different fun palette, so I keep it around. I don't know, there's something about it that's kind of inspiring. The next brand I have is Cliona. I really love Cliona shadows. If you're into any kind of sparkly duochrome, iridescent shadows, you would love them. They sell tons of single shadows. They have a whole stained glass collection, which is stunning. And usually they do only do singles, but I have 2 palettes here. We'll start with the Deep Sea one. This one just barely made the cut at 6 shades, but it is a really beautiful one. I'm glad I picked this up. I love the theme, and I feel like all of these kind of jewel tones, treasure tones in here are honestly so fitting and amazing quality. Seriously, like this is what eyeshadow love is all about. Look at this. Look at this. I don't feel like my lights are even doing these justice, but they are stunning. And then the palette I absolutely love. This is the Dragon Fruit palette, and it's in collaboration with Emily Violet Marie. Ooh, oh no, it finally happened. Oh my gosh, okay. We're unhinged. Okay, well that's especially sad in this moment, but I really did use this palette. I traveled with this palette. I love these greens. I love the pinks. It's all shimmer. Like, yeah, absolutely stunning. Love this palette so much. Now I gotta be extra careful with it. C is a very big category because we have ColourPop, and a lot of these have been sent to me. Not every single one, but a lot of them. And honestly, I don't even feel like this is that much for ColourPop. Even though this is like so so much ColourPop, but I can't imagine what the collection would look like if you had every ColourPop palette. Like if you were there for the first palette, it was like, yes, please, or what was it called? I'll put a picture of it. If you were here, like ColourPop didn't have palettes, okay? It was like a huge fucking deal. At the time, we were all losing our fucking shit. Did you know also that there was a palette sold at Sephora for ColourPop? It was just a holiday one. It was the Golden State. I don't know. I'll put a picture of that too. Just in case you don't remember or weren't there, it wasn't always a million palettes. It started at one point like, holy crap, that's so new and different that there is one palette. That being said, let's just run through these. We're gonna keep it fast, but I think it would be fun to go through these and see what I have from ColourPop. This is the Under the Sea palette. I believe this just came out from ColourPop. This was sent to me, and inside you have a little Ariel and the color story. It's kind of giving Flounder, actually. I kind of like it though. I mean, ColourPop does that mix of neutrals and pops of color, which I understand a lot of people want neutrals, but also, you know, they are called ColourPop. This is another newer palette, Heart to Get, and it is pink and gray themed. I believe this was part of the Valentine's Day collection this year. This is another Disney collab, the Alice in Wonderland, Lost in Wonderland palette. This one kind of opened more like a book, and then in here there were a lot of like pastels. I didn't necessarily love the quality if I remember correctly, but I am an Alice in Wonderland girly, so, you know, I was into the collection collab aspect, the IP aspect of this palette. I was also a Nightmare Before Christmas girly, okay? So, you know, I really love this. Oh, this reminds me of The Ride, which I love. And then inside, it's kind of this gray with the hot pinks. Like, this was my room back in the day, okay? Gray, black, hot pink, like, those are my colors. I love them. And that's when I was rocking everything Jack and Sally, okay? So, I'm not gonna lie, I think they nailed this color story, to be honest. Like, I think it was perfect. Another IP palette, this is the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer holiday collab. I thought for a holiday palette, this color story was actually really good. It was neutral, a little kind of muted almost, which I liked. Like the reds and greens were more sagey, more cranberry than they were like bright red and green. And I think that made it more elevated. Okay, the Lush Life palette. I remember when this came out, like I had to have it. This color story was so me, which I mean, me in a lime green, a chartreusey green, I do love. I'm drawn to that color. And I still think this is a beautiful, rich, tropical kind of color story. It's just funny because I remember this being like, oh yeah, I gotta get it. And although I do think it's pretty, it's not necessarily what I'm wearing on my eyes at this moment. It is pretty, I will say. This is the ColourPop and Sailor Moon collaboration. It says Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon for Love and Justice. So maybe the palette's for Love and Justice. Very pastel on this one, very like ethereal in terms of the color scheme they went with. I think it's pretty, a little light, but very pretty. Next, this is the Heavy Petal palette. I don't know, this one to me doesn't look like much in the pan, but you know what? I've realized sometimes the things that don't look like much in the pan are actually the things I wear more. This gives like I Need a Nude vibes or even etherealized palette vibes. I really liked this collection from ColourPop. I thought it was one of their best ones. I liked the shadow sticks. They had some blushes even. Like everything about this was definitely my style, and I like the artwork too, like cute. 1111 was cute. Okay, looks like we have another Valentine's Day palette, Lost in Love. This one's a lot brighter. It has the pinks, but it also has red and even some like corally shades in here. I mean, it's different, but it's still Valentine's. You know, what can you do for Valentine's Day? Okay, we're getting a little bigger. We have a Shrek palette. This is, what is this one called? Just the Shrek palette? I'm sure it's like probably Swamp something. I don't know. I think this is pretty. Let's swatch a few. I mean, the duo, you see that one in the middle, that duochrome? I'm telling you, every single, I will never get tired of every palette, please. Please, every palette. Oh, let's see how it swatches. Okay, not bad, not bad. You know, this one has some shine on it. Next here, this is the Legend of Korra palette. I am not really familiar with this one, so I can't tell you if it's the best color story for the IP, but it is kind of blue, red. It has everything. It's almost giving a grounded, neutrally rainbow palette. Oh my gosh, I have the Eclipse palette. I don't have the original Twilight, but I was sent this Eclipse one, and we have the trio here. Oh my gosh, okay. And then this is what the palette looks like. It has those like silvers and grays. There's some like mauve purples though, and also this kind of red. I think this color story really matches. Like, I think that if you love Twilight, this makes sense. Like, this makes sense to me. I saw some smaller palettes before we get into the really big stuff. The Tinkerbell Sprinkle Little Magic palette. I really love this artwork. I remember at Hot Topic they'd have more this style on shirts and stuff. Yeah, I ate that up. I loved it. And inside, this is a pretty color story. I love the greens. You can tell what I'm a sucker for, but then I love these kind of mauve-y, dusty, purpley shades. I think that they just pair well with the green. It just is really pleasing. I love it. This is a plastic palette, which I don't believe they do these anymore, but it's the Going Coconuts, which is like a fan favorite. Stunning. Another I Need a Nude kind of dupe, but this was out before that. This was out way before that. So if you were still wanting something like that, this would get the job done. An old one. I think this might be my oldest ColourPop palette that I have. Like, this almost harkens back to like the My Little Pony collection. Almost, you know what I mean? The Karuchi collabs, if you remember those. Like, you know, it's kind of going more back to that era, but this is the Brown Sugar. I used to really love this neutral palette. It's super stunning, and I'm glad I still have it. I'm glad to be able to look at it right now. Oh, okay, this is kind of like the Coconuts, Going Coconuts palette, and that's taupe. It's cooler. Actually, I'll hold the Going Coconuts next to it. I mean, they're different. They're different. They are different, but also similar. And I'm sure they were like, let's do something similar. Beautiful little palette. Also a great one if you're looking for some cool tones. I don't know what's still available though, to be honest, with ColourPop. They're always kind of moving things in and out. This is the All Amethyst palette, which is purples. Ooh. That one's really, really pretty. Very pretty. And if you want more cool tones, this is the Of Quartz palette. It's so funny because before all these cool tones, there was the modern renaissance. And before that, it was cool tones. So like the reddy, warm browns, the orangey browns, like even those kind of yellow camel-y browns were so exciting and so different and rich and pigmented and just exciting because they weren't as available or as widely popular, especially on like a mass scale. And it's funny because then those reigned supreme, and things that were literally red we would consider very neutral, and now it has swung back. But you know, I feel like Of Quartz kind of came out when it was really like, oh, cool tones are fresh again, you know? And it'll be interesting to see kind of where it goes, because now eyeshadow is more into like singles and stuff like that, which I also really do like that. But anyway, I'm going off. But this is the Of Quartz palette, another beautiful cool tone palette, it really is. Okay, these I'm gonna show together. I think only one of them is actually in the place it's supposed to. I think it's this one because it came out after the other two. So this was the third installation of this kind of set, but it's the Clay It Cool. Kind of like I was saying, these are those warm tones that were just like straight up only neutrals to me back in the day. And then these two, the Twist of Slate and the Set in Stone palettes, I actually kind of reworked them myself. So I took what I wanted from both of them and made this palette, and this was kind of the leftovers. And I believe all of these were kind of fashioned after the Patrick Ta palettes, if I'm not mistaken. Like I think this was their kind of dupe of it. The Lust in Dusk palette, I think is still one of their really great ones. They did a great job combining these cooler tones with the orangey warm tones. I just think it really worked well where you could get kind of whatever look you wanted from it. I really loved that one. Oh my gosh, this one's like a blast from the past. This is childhood Pokemon and ColourPop. I love a Pokemon, okay? I always pick the cute Pokemon though. I don't really pick them for like their strength and stuff. I want them like if they're cute. So like my team is Oddish and obviously Jigglypuff. Like I am Jigglypuff. Who else do I like? Dragonite is that one. That one's so cute. I don't know. I like all the cutie ones. Anyway, inside we're getting Rainbow palette. I get kind of a idea for this is like, gotta catch them all, every single color, every single Pokemon. I'm sure you could match every single one of these with a different Pokemon, but at the same time, I think that they should have come out with like 9-pan palettes, quads, something for different Pokemon so that they could be themed more cohesively, and also you could get the one that like matched your Pokemon. It could even be like shaped like them or something. Like it would be so cute. That's part 2, round 2, ColourPop. Take my idea and make that happen. That'd be so cute. Anyway, that's the kind of painter's palette that was the Pokemon palette. I think the last ones we have here are these like really big, almost like makeup artist palettes, I would say. I mean, back in the day, we loved a big palette this big, even if you weren't a makeup artist. But this is the Fade into Hue. It's honestly a very aesthetic, a beautiful rainbow palette because it has those pastels. I think the pastels just, and there are some glitters. I don't love a pressed glitter, but they do make this look very sparkly and like girly fairy like. This is the Bare Necessities palette in here. I hope these are all right. I did a lot of like making palettes back in the day. Shout out if you've been here that long. And I love rearranging my singles. I have a really big singles collection too. Like I obviously love makeup, guys. And so I would move shadows around and create new color stories. That's a really fun way to get inspired and freshen up any makeup you maybe do have. And depending on what your budget is, what you're trying to buy or not buy, that can be a fun way to kind of just breathe some new life into your palette. So I would move things around. That being said, I hope that these are all in there correctly, but there might be some things that are a little off, just warning. Not that I think any of you guys are like studying this for a test, but you know. Bare Necessities, okay. Moving on, keep it short, girl. Rock Candy, I like this one. I mean, it's a huge palette, so it's covering a lot of ground here. We have like the blacks and grays. Actually, this is just not a shadow. I don't know. Where is it? Who knows? But I like it mixed with the pinks. Again, I like that pink, black, gray combo, but this is a little softer. Then this is Smoke and Roses. It also is kind of pink, but instead of going more black and gray, I would say this one goes a little more into browns. And last, Stone Cold Fox. Cool tones, okay? If going coconuts, of quartz, and that's taupe weren't enough, you could do this, baby. All those palettes in one palette. And that concludes the ColourPop section. I'm telling you, again, kind of fun to go through, I'm not gonna lie, but I would love to see all the palettes together. Like, I hope ColourPop HQ has that. Like their own vault of all the palettes they've ever come out with. Like I have my fingers crossed they have that. Moving on, this is a collab with Adept Cosmetics and Panda Replay, and it's the Bookish Beauty palette. It's definitely more colorful, but this is like a really beautiful, like rich, almost kind of like serpentine. I don't know, that's kind of the vibes I get from it. Green with like almost a blackened blue teal base on it. It's called Fantasy, which I think definitely. I also really am drawn to this like sky blue periwinkle color. Very pretty. Next, I have my 2 palettes from Cosmic Brushes. They've come out with more since this, but I was kind of like getting out of these bigger indie palettes at the time. Like it was at that transition for me, but I could not resist these color stories, okay? I think they're stunning. This is the Muse. And this is what it looks like. Like, are you kidding me? This is like a murky Secret Garden palette. I love a Secret Garden color story, which is like the greens, the pinks together, maybe some of those rosewoody browns. Like, again, sucker, definitely a sucker for a shadow like that. I'm a simple girl, I have simple needs. So anyway, this is the Muse palette, absolutely stunning. And then this is the Serenity, which I also just thought was very stunning. Again, those like more limey greens definitely got me, but there's more purples in here, darker blues. If you like color, I feel like you would love this color story because it's very poppy, but also has enough like depth and all these other things to make actual looks with. And Cosmic Brushes is also very affordable. I think this is last for C's, and this is the Cozette mini palette. These are actually almost more creams, the crystal cream shadows, which they have in singles, and I don't know if they still sell this or whatnot, but I think this thing is so stunning. I really loved these 2 more neutral shades. Like, they got the most love for me for sure. That is such a beautiful color, but even these are stunning. They're a little dried out, but this cream formula, it wasn't super wet. It was a little more creamy than an actual putty, but I felt like they kind of dried down to powder, so they definitely still have their pigment. We're into the D's, and we're starting off with Danessa Myrix. Oh, this is a fun section, okay? I love my Danessa Myrix palettes. I'm so happy to have, especially the Lightworks palettes, which are her limited edition holiday palettes. I got in at volume 5, okay? So I was a late adopter, unfortunately, but let me get into these and I'll show you why they're so special. So this is the Lightwork 5, and Danessa Myrix really brings like that indie pigment and color and intensity to mainstream beauty, I feel like. Oh, she just creates amazing palettes, and she just has an eye for texture and shine. There's some like flakies in here. I'm telling you, like texture, okay? An absolutely stunning palette, especially for makeup artists, editorial work, stuff like that. After 5 comes Lightwork 6, and as you can tell, this is a totally different setup, which she is known for her just innovative formulas, packaging, and this is a whole like system, okay? So this is a mirror that comes off, and inside the palette, you can actually take these palettes off and create mini palettes where this becomes the lid. You guys, are you fucking kidding me? Are you kidding me? How cool is that? On top of all of these pop out as well, okay? So you could rearrange your shadows into whatever palette you want to take on the go with you and go. She also labeled the back of the pans. Are you freaking kidding me? You don't got to get your label maker out and, you know, DIY your own shit. Like, thank you. This is just well thought out. She deserved my money on this one, I will tell you that. On top of it being stunning shadows, stunning finishes. I mean, beautiful. Lightwork 7 works the same way, and this was the holiday palette for 2025. This one's a little more neutral. It also had the inclusion of some mattes, which was different, and this color and me had a love affair, okay? I don't think that this could even pick up on camera how this flashes. It's insane and stunning and beautiful. I love it. Obsessed. And like I said, I used to make all those palettes, and I still love the idea of doing that. She's a makeup artist, so the idea that you can switch everything around is just so amazing. But this is still totally friendly if you don't want to do that too. Like, it just works all the ways, and I appreciate her for it. I did get the little limited edition. Again, absolutely love that. This set of colors was called the Pastel Dream palette. Really, really stunning. These were pretty soft though. This was a very soft powdery eyeshadow, so it's taken a little damage even though it's been relatively safe, but really stunning. And then the last Danessa Myrix palette that I have here, this is the Groundwork Blooming Romance. I believe there's just a regular Groundwork. This is the rosy toned one. This is the only one I didn't buy. This one I got as PR and kind of a gift bag. How the Groundwork palettes work is that there's a cream shade, which is the bigger one, and then there's a matte powder. They're both mattes, but one's cream, one's powder, and they're supposed to be able to build the looks because she does have so many beautiful duochromes, flakies, almost holographic iridescence, and this can kind of build out more the neutral part of a look. And this can also be used around the face as well if you want to do contouring, bronzing, blushing, anything like that. I mean, if that doesn't make you want to play with eyeshadow, I don't know what will. This next one is from Decay. It's the only one I have from them. I believe they're a K-beauty brand, but just soft, really blendable matte shades. One more shimmery kind of sparkly color, very neutral, some like blushy tones almost. I believe next we're on to Dior. This is the only bigger Dior palette that I have, and it's from the Backstage collection, so that's why it's in kind of the more cheap packaging or see-through, which as a design I don't love nearly as much as something more ornate, but there is something about seeing the shadows that does inspire me to use the actual color story more, so sometimes I still like it and it works for me. This one is the Smoky Essentials palette, which honestly is a very stunning palette. This is more that luxury formula though, so you're not gonna get like the darkest, deepest colors. Instead, it's almost kind of watercolor and washes that you can build up if you want to, but it's just like a different style of makeup. And when I was first getting into beauty, I wanted all the pigment, but as I've gotten older, as my style and taste have changed, I now appreciate this formula. I understand it looks really good on the eyelids if you want something that is more neutral or more natural looking or more like subtly enhancing or more subtly smoky. This kind of palette and this kind of formula would do that for you. We got another designer treasure here. This is a palette from Dolce & Gabbana. This is the shade 03 Chrome Star. There's 3 different colors and this one is the more cool toned. I was going back and forth between which one I wanted. This is a newer one for me. It's now at Sephora, so I was like, I've wanted to try it for so long. I love the packaging. I love the Dolce & Gabbana Devotion heart. I think it's so pretty. Anyway, this color in the middle is so stunning. It's one of those more wet shine, transparent, sparkly shades. And I really love this kind of gray taupe color as well. Like I said, there's something about these kinds of shades that really warm up on my skin tone and as you blend it in, so it almost turns more neutral than it does like as gray to me or green or like dusty. I don't know. I really loved the look I did with these today, so yeah, I'm excited to keep exploring this palette. So stunning. This to me works for every day, has like, you know, sparkles like I need in almost any palette, but also delivers on being a beautiful object. Next for D's, we have Dominique Cosmetics, and I don't know if these palettes are still available, but I have the Essential palette and the Moment palette. The Essential is more neutral, and let me tell you, this is a pretty substantial, like sturdy palette. The pans are really big. I don't know, there's something, such a throwback about this. There's a few swatches of it. And then the Moment palette was more blue toned, I believe, yeah. It has some blues in here. It's like sultry mermaid vibes. I don't know, that's kind of what I get. This Mesmerized shade. Do I need to say it? Do I need to say it? Oh my gosh, we're on the last D, which kind of makes me sad because it's Dose of Colors. And you know, as I've been in this nostalgic kind of, I don't know, this like beauty archive, I guess, phase of my collection at the moment, I'm so sad I don't have the Ice Cream palette from Dose of Colors. I wanted that palette so bad when it came out. I wish I had it here to swatch and talk about. But the palette I do have, this is the Truffle eyeshadow palette. And again, not sure if this is available, but this is a stunning little palette. 8 shades, all more neutral overall. I mean, this one's like a nice dusty rose, but overall, like, I just think this is a really yummy neutral palette. Like there's something about these tones. I think they go well together. I really love this shimmer that's in here. A stunning like champagne color, just really pretty. We're on to Ease, and I only have 2 palettes in this category. One from e.l.f. This is the American Eagle and e.l.f. collaboration. What a collab, looking at it now. It did have some really cool features though. This is like a tag, you know, kind of cute. And then in here, this is all like blue toned, denim themed. It was a cute collab. The only other E that I have here is a really old one, a defunct part of the Estee Lauder brand, the Estee Edit by Estee Lauder, if you remember. Was this edited by Victoria Beckham at the time, or did they do a collab? I don't know. I might be getting my info wrong, but this is definitely like an old piece of makeup. You gotta be into makeup like a long time ago, okay? And I actually got this through my friend Eshani. If you were into OG beauty YouTube, you know her as Total Makeup Junkie 101. I loved watching Eshani even before I made videos, and she truly has the beauty archive, let me tell you. But she did a makeup museum video. I'll leave it linked down below if you want to check it out. And when she was getting rid of some stuff, she let me go through it, and there were a few pieces I had to keep just for my makeup memories, you know? And this palette came with, I believe, a blush palette as well. For some reason, I remember them kind of being attached by magnets. Not sure if they do that in the back, but inside, this is what it looked like. Definitely a more sultry palette. Yeah, this is like makeup memories right here. I didn't have it when it came out, but I remember everyone else having it. This is another donation from Eshani to my beauty archive, but this is from Fenty Beauty. It's my only F palette. And truly this palette I feel like was ahead of its time because these are all very sheer, like sparkly shadows that I would absolutely love now. I mean, I think our formulas have gotten better over time since this launched, but at the time we were very much still into like thicker, full pigment metallics, and that kind of denoted quality and what people were looking for more than these kind of sparse, ethereal, glittery shades. And so this came off as like not pigmented, you know? But now I feel like this is way more trendy. It was just a little ahead of its time. Anyway, this is definitely like a blast from the past. Okay, I was misinformed and I told you that was the only F palette I have. Lies. There's a lot more Fs. I just had the wrong piles. I just had one F with me, but I got more. So we're actually a little out of alphabetical order also because this is Fantasy Cosmetica and all the palettes I have from them. This first one is Cradled in Ice, and I love this color story. I'm telling you, I'm a sucker for these tones, and I think they pair well with blues, they pair well with greens, they pair well with a lot of stuff, and I'm immediately sucked in. It's just a very pleasing color story. Next here is the Enchanted Autumn palette. This is actually a collab with Amanda from Makeup Just for Fun. Love her. And inside, this is what it looks like. Very autumnal themed. It has like a grunginess to it that I think is really beautiful. And then the other palettes I have here are more the 9 pans. This one is the Rogue palette. Love this kind of sea foamy green. I believe the Fighter is my favorite. Yeah, I love this color story. I just think it's so, so pretty. I love Marshall. I love Glory. In person, this looks a little more blue, but it's like this gray. Just really pretty. Next is the Bard palette, which is really fun, quite colorful while still being what feels like a little more subdued. And then last year, this is the Sorcerer, and I feel like this is the one that really goes there. It has this beautiful hot pink, also really beautiful hot pink shimmer. Love that kind of color, but then some blues and the greens, like very girly, but in like a Y2K, or I don't know, what kind of aesthetic is that? There's something to it. Anyway, those are all my Fantasy Cosmetica. Then there would be Fenty, and then next we have Flower Beauty, which I believe is gone too. Oh my gosh, everything's gone. I have quite a few of these palettes. The Jungle Lights is the one that we all loved so much. In the time of eyeshadow palettes, this was definitely one of the best formulas you could get at the drugstore. They were so pigmented and shiny, like pigmented, okay? Pigmented. I'm telling you, this is the kind of formula that everyone was kind of after at the time, and that's why that Fenty palette was like, what is this? You know, they're just different. But yeah, lots of memories with this one. But then there were a bunch of other ones that came out. I think Desert Lights was next, and this one was a little more neutral. It also had more of those like peachy, rose gold kind of shades. And then we had Coastal Lights and Garden Lights, which I thought these were, again, really great color stories. Like like different, colorful, but still I feel like wearable. All still shimmers, which, you know, I know it's controversial, but I do love an all shimmer palette. I do. I love it. I mean, I just like shiny things. I like looking at the shimmers. Here's a closer look of that Garden Lights palette. I mean, really highly shimmery, highly metallic, highly pigmented shades. And last, actually for F, I have all my different Flower Nose palettes. I'm realizing some of these might actually be a little bit smaller. Let me see. But I do have a full video dedicated to swatching all my Flower Nose collection, which there might need to be an update soon. Wink, wink. I also do have an affiliate code for Flower Nose, and I love these palettes. This is kind of that collector's piece, but still really beautiful formulas, great performance on them as well, especially if you like soft blendable mattes and those kind of glittery, sparkly, sheer topper type shades. Tons of those in these palettes. So we're gonna go through them quickly. Both of these are from the Little Angel collection. This one's O2 Weeping Angel. I mean, oof, all the detail. It's just so ornate and I love it. I love it. Such a pretty palette. This one's the more neutral one. It's called Eden's Angel 01. I mean, stunning. Stunning. If you want something that looks pretty and is neutrals, these are, again, those more blendable mattes. This is from the Midsummer Fairy Tales collection, which is number 03. And I believe this was an Asia exclusive, maybe? Don't quote me on that, but I kind of think it was. I really loved the Shells Jewel collection. I mean, these were like literal Polly Pocket makeup, but under the sea, like so freaking cute. This is the 03 Deep Sea palette, which is like navies and grays. And then this one's definitely very light, but it's called Moonlight Pearl, and it's kind of perfect for just very, very neutral, simple looks. Oh yeah, see, these technically don't make the cut of 6, so apologies again, but these are both from the Moonlight Mermaid collection. The neutral one is O2 Celestial Castle, and then the purple one is O4 Mermaid's Dream. And of course, they have the stunning packaging. I love that all of it's different, but it all is cohesive and very much Flower Nose. These are from the Butterfly Cloud Color collection. This is O3 Incense Purple Haze, and this one's O1 Terracotta Brick. And actually last for the Fs, this is from the Strawberry Rococo collection and another 5 pan. So technically shouldn't be in here, but it's the Star Moon Strawberry palette. Okay, we are on to Gs, and this category is pretty full, especially with my Glaminatrix palettes, which I do have a code with them. I love the Glaminatrix eyeshadow formula, and we have quite a few palettes to talk about, so let's get into it. Okay, where to start? I don't even know. I guess we're starting here with the Rich Romance palette. This has some purple tones, some really beautiful, I think their shimmers are some of the best. This is an absolute fairy tale of a duo multi-chrome. I mean, this is way more than duo. It's multi-rich. Absolutely stunning. It's definitely a softer palette, but it has an interesting color story, I would say. This next one is the Sugar and Spice palette. Another, I would say, pretty unique color story. It has some pastel shades down here, a row of matte neutrals, and then lots of, again, beautiful, beautiful shimmers. I love their neutrals. I have tons of single shadows also from Glaminatrix that I love. The Nearly Neutral palette was really when I fell in love. This is the old version. They have a reformulated and like repackaged one, but I did keep the old palette around. I just love the tones in here. I love that there are so many beautiful neutrals, but there's also some greens, and you could do something a little more mauve and like romantic and kind of rosy as well. Just absolutely stunning. And like I said, they did redo that palette. So this is the updated one, which it is expanded, but I believe all those same colors are in here. It's just smaller pans. I don't know, as much as it's like so much the same, I'm telling you, there's just something about that other palette that brings me in even a little bit more. This one I really love, Pretty in Pastels. I think it's just a really well done pastel palette. It has 2 rows of really beautiful shimmers. There's something like Eastery about this. And then 2 rows of matte pastels. And then it also has some deeper shades though. So you can really deepen up whatever look you want. You could go monochrome. You could do a different combo if you want. I just think it has a lot in here to create a lot of looks while still being pastel, which tends to be one noted. This is one of their newer palettes. It came out, I want to to say last fall, Crown Legacy. I think it's a good name because this is a very like royal luxe color story. It has the greens, the purples, a dark navy blue, while also having some neutrals. Just a lot of great colors in this one. And a lot of variation in depth, which I think is important for a palette. Ooh, okay, I really love this one as well, the Barely Basic. This might be my second favorite. This, the pastel, and the nearly neutral. I mean, is there a better fall palette out there? I don't think so. I do not think so. We have tons of great mattes, all kind of like monochromatic by column, if you look at it that way, which is kind of nice. You can really build up an eye look. And then there's a row of like iridescent shades. So although these look white, they all have like different reflex to them, which absolutely love. And then there's a row of beautiful shimmers as well. Like, I think this has everything. And again, I just think these are such delicious tones of colors. We still have a few to go. Let's talk about this Glamorous palette next. This is a little bit of a different style. I don't think they make them like this as much anymore, but this was a bright and kind of poppy color story. It kind of reminded me, I don't know, it gives me 80s vibes. Like, I don't know, like a workout video in the 80s in a way. I don't know, it's just kind of the vibes I get. Some really beautiful shimmers. I mean, love a green like that. I really love this twinkle shade as well. Next is Into the Night. I found this to be maybe a little bit more of a challenging color story. Once again, I don't know why. I kind of get 80s vibes from it, but it just has a lot going on. Obsessed. Obsessed with moonlight, love neon lights. I mean, I love those types of colors, but then there's like some grungier greens and like some deeper colors. It's just a very unique color story, I feel like, and in that way I find it a little challenging. So this is one, once again, I kind of can like single out the shades I want to use, and then that's more inspiring than really looking at it as a whole of a palette. There's some smaller palettes. There were 4 of them, but I just have 2, I guess. This brown one's Elegant Eyes. Stunning, really stunning mini palette. The more rosy one is called Entrancing Eyes. I love a smaller palette like this. These are still kind of big for 6 shades, but I do think mini palettes are useful. And then last 2 here, the Silent Night palette. This is one of my only like Christmas themed palettes. I mean, I have the ColourPop one, but I really don't have that many Christmas ones, but I thought this was a really fun color story. Again, love the shimmers. These are some more like almost primary. I know they're not, but you know, matte, colorful shades. Kind of a fun 8-pan color story and take on Christmas. And last, this is the Fairy Lights palette. It's really for someone who loves shimmers. I mean, it's all shimmer. They're all these kind of like confetti sparkler kind of shades. Very, very sparkly and metallic. I find with some of their shadows, you can layer them on and get something full pigment, or on the eye, you can kind of more tap them and get a more sheer application if you want, but really, really stunning. Those are all my Glaminatrix. Next for G's is Glam Light. I have just a few palettes, and these are a little bit of the older palette. This is like 2020, maybe 2019, but 2020, 2021-ish era. We'll start with the Ice Cream Dream because this was a palette I wanted so bad. I was so excited to order this. I was so excited to have it. And it's just so funny because it really shows just how much your taste can really change, but I still think this is so fun. Anyway, this is it inside. Oh my gosh, look at all this color. This is so many eyeshadows, so much color, but I had pink hair at the time. I was wearing the color all the time. I was putting pinks in my brows. Like, I loved it all. And it also had some neutral shimmery shades in here that I also loved using. So this was a really fun one. Definitely nostalgic for me personally. And then from the Martini collection, I think it was, there were 4 palettes overall, but I just got 2. I have the Chocolate Martini and the Dirty Martini. Chocolate is a beautiful neutral palette. In some ways, it kind of reminds me of the Brown Sugar palette. It's a neutral palette with a little bit more pizzazz to it, I would say. And then Dirty Martini was a green palette, and boy, was it green. Stunning, absolutely stunning green palette for sure. Beautiful shimmers, intense. This is eyeshadow lover. There's no sheer in sight, okay? We want full opacity on this one. We're cutting the crease on this one. Moving on to H's, and first off, we have this palette from Half Caked. This is another really big memory palette for me. The Pretty Precious, which kind of has almost a Polly Pocket theme, but then the inside, neutrals, grungy, like totally not the vibe of the outside at all. But I love the vibe of the inside. Like I loved this palette. I loved this shade. I loved this shade, especially when those cool tones were kind of hard to find. Absolutely loved this palette. I don't think this is still around. I'm not sure what Half Cake's doing, but another makeup memory for me. Ooh, okay, this one's fresh. Fresh. I'm telling you, we're not just doing nostalgia. There are some new palettes in here you guys haven't seen, but this is the new Half Magic in collaboration with Euphoria palette. I really love the Half Magic shadows and Donnie Davy, who is the makeup artist for Euphoria. This collab just makes sense. I really thought it was cool they were named after all the different girls in the show as well. So let's swatch these for the first time. We have Rue, Maddie, Lexi in that top row. Really pretty. Maybe a little sheerer than I thought. I'll have to see what they actually look like on the eye, but there's the first shades. Then we have Cassie, Jules, and Kat. I really like the Kat shade. Okay, there's a swatch of it. Again, I'm not sure the lighting's doing it the most justice, but I'm excited to get those on my eyes and see how they look. Okay, next is the Hindash palette. This is the Monochromance, and this truly is a very unique palette with a very unique formula, and as you can see, the pans are gradient. You're supposed to be able to use them on the eyes, but also on the face. And the formula, like I said, is very specific. It's a beautiful silky matte, but it definitely doesn't play well with your oils on your fingers. So you want to use brushes only and kind of build these up. It wasn't a personal favorite at the time. It's been a while since I've revisited it, and I wonder how I would like it now. I've definitely had palettes and products that maybe at one point I didn't like, but then as my preferences change or how I do my makeup changes, what I like changes, and I'm kind of curious to know how I would think about this palette now, but that's my one palette from Hindash. And then last for H's, we have all the different Huda Beauty palettes. So we'll start with these little neon ones. I just have 2 out of the 3. I believe these got recalled, but I think it was like a pigment thing with like, you know, pressed pigment or if it goes on the eye type of thing and like how they're labeled. I don't think there's technically anything that wrong with it. Anyway, I can't remember if these had specific names, but I have this one here. I'm so sad because I'm pretty sure I had the green one at some point. I think I did, and I kind of wish I still had it because I just think these are such fun looks at palettes. They had such a fun color story, still had the shimmers, and the green one had that chartreuse. It had some like purpley shades, again, just really nice shimmers too. So I thought these were really fun out of like the 9 pans. There was like a moment when Huda was releasing like tons of these 9 pans, and I thought the neons were really fun. But now let's get into the big palettes. I have quite a few of these, which she has announced she will not be making any more of these. So these definitely feel like an example of the trend of palettes dying down, but let's look at all of these. I know we did have the dupe already of the rose quartz, but this is what the original looks like. Absolutely stunning. This for sure was one of my favorite palettes for a moment. Like I loved the shade. I loved that shade. Like I was wearing this all the time. This next one is the Naughty palette, which has almost like a Bordeaux, like a brown neutral, but like kind of Bordeaux color story to it. Empowered's really beautiful and also just like very pigmented. Some of the shimmers had more of that like metallic quality, some were a little bit more on the sparkly side. A nice warm neutral. Pretty grunge I think is a fun theme, and this one is more on the cool tone. There are some like purpley tones as well in here that I think are really nice. A little bit darker, and then I feel like the version of this that is lighter and more suited for my skin tone is the Icy Nude. It has those silvers. It also has some of those more like purpley tones, but everything skews a lot lighter in this palette. And that concludes the Huda palettes and also all the H's. For I only have Isamaya palettes in here. I have 3 different palettes. My absolute favorite, Industrial 2.0. I'm so glad that they did remake these, and I feel like the formula is pretty similar. Some things are just slightly different, but if you were wanting, if I can get it open, this color story, I do still think it's a good option. I feel like these are a little bit more on the drier side, and a lot of those are a little more of that like squishy, almost kind of putty feel. And sometimes I want it flaky. Like sometimes I do like that it's a little bit drier, but I just love this. All shimmer, pastels, any mood I want, it's in here. I also really do like this packaging. I think it's just so unique, another kind of almost collector's piece in that way. And yeah, I just think it's really cool. The first palette though that came out, because that's 2.0, this is Industrial 1.0. Very similar packaging, but in here you're getting a lot more of a grungy vibe and feel. There's lots of greens, lots of dark shades. I felt like some of the textures in here were a little bit drier. There's definitely a lot of different formulas going on. So everything, again, it feels textural and, you know, it's a vibe for sure. It's a vibe. And speaking of vibes, this is also a vibe. This is the Rodeo, what was this? Wild Star palette. I got this in one of the advent calendars, I want to say. Maybe that's how I got this. But it's round and circular. Lots of, I mean, really great shimmers. I do think that they're very pretty. There's some mattes. The big circle in the middle is a black matte shade. It's definitely unique. Again, another kind of collector's piece in terms of packaging. I do appreciate now more than ever something a little different when it comes to packaging, because after the makeup is expired, you know, it kind of just does become a pretty object. So the more substantial or like ornate packaging, you know, really adds some value to me. We're moving on to K's, which means we're moving into some Kaleidos, and I have quite a few palettes. There also are some quads, but I didn't include them in here. We'll start with the bigger palettes and then move down. First here, this is the Escape Pod palette. I remember when this launched and they sent me this really cool PR package. I remember just being like so ecstatic. I've really loved seeing Kaleidos' journey as a makeup brand, and I mean, I was obsessed with this color story, okay? I love that pink in there. I love these shimmers as well. They are more of like a glassy topper wet shine kind of shadow. I love, absolutely love. This is a newer palette, so it's been updated over the years in terms of packaging. It overall looks the same, but it's a little bit different. But yeah, love this Escape Pod. Lots of memories with this one. And then this is the Club Nebula palette. This was a collab actually with Angelica Nyquist, and this was a really, really beautiful color story. It has some of those topper shades, but it has a good mix of those lighter tones as well as some nice deep tones to make a look. And again, this just like stamps a moment in time for sure. I think this is like 2020? 2021 maybe. Next, this one's in a little different packaging. This is the Flower Punk palette. I really loved this color story. It kind of reminds me of the Melt palettes because this is how some of them were packaged. But again, a color story I really liked. I had some troubles, I remember, with some of the deeper greens, but I do think this is a fun color story. And then we have the Futurism palettes. I loved these things. Oh, I was just thinking, wait, yeah, there's 6 in here. But I love this little collection. Another, what feels like a time capsule of eyeshadow palettes here. So starting with Futurism 1. Actually, let me put them in order. All right, we're 1 through 7 here. So starting with Sci-Fi Green Futurism 1. I loved this color story so much. Just a beautiful green, grungy kind of palette. Futurism 2 Cyber Bronze. First off, I do really love the packaging on these. I just think they were so creative, especially at the time, and still, I think they have such a vision. Anyway, at the time, this was my least favorite because it was so neutral, but it's so funny because I probably would wear it the most. Actually, I like these ones that came out a little later because all of the shimmers in these palettes, except for one in the Futurism 3, which was my favorite I'm about to show you, they are more metallics than they were like those toppery, really sparkly shades. Ooh, okay. Futurism 3 Astro Pink was my shit, okay? I loved this blue so much. I thought it was so pretty. I just love this color story. I love these lighter mattes as well. I just loved it. I fell in love with it. The Futurism 4 VR Neon, this one was intense, okay? Wow. Look at that. I feel like this is when we started seeing a little bit of a different, more sparkly formula in the shimmers that would come out in these palettes, but I mean, this thing was bright. Almost like their version of the electric palette, which I will say, wish I did not declutter wish I didn't declare that thing. What the hell? Futurism 5 Electro Turquoise. This was always my least favorite out of like all the color stories. I don't know. I think it's just hard to mix these blues with the orange because it's gonna turn muddy. And it's not like the colors I go for as often as so many others. So I always found this one a little more challenging. And then these two came out a little bit later than all of those. And I feel like it kind of marked them going into some more neutral territory. So we have Futurism 6 Lunar Lavender. I say neutrals and it's like literally purples, but I do feel like, you know, it was starting to go that way, especially with Sashimi City. This is Futurism number 7, and as you can tell, all neutrals there. Very, very beautiful. Definitely color stories I like more with time because, again, I've gone more neutral as well. And that's all the Kaleidos over 6 pans. Closing out K's, I do have a few KVD palettes. These I think are both holiday collections, if I'm not mistaken. I think the artwork's really pretty. This is the Moon Garden palette, and inside it has a little more artwork instead of a mirror, and then you get almost like these shadows set into a frame. I feel like usually you would see this kind of packaging more with like maybe a baked domed shadow, but that's not what they did for this. A lot of these actually were more of that kind of ColourPop Super Shock, or at least a few of them were, but definitely a more saturated kind of fun, almost like the Lush Life palette, but with purples. And then this one is actually in a tin, but kind of similar art style going on. This is the Surreal Bloom palette. It has 6 different shades in it, and you know, it's a nice palette, but this is one that is kind of cool to have just because it really didn't stay around long. It was limited and has some pretty colors on there. Interesting little concept. Okay guys, we are on to L. I did take a little bit of a break, so if the lighting's a little different, that is why. And we're gonna start with Lancome, but I started editing a little bit of the footage, but I realized I think these nails are a little dark for me. I don't know, something about the bright lights, the white background kind of put it in perspective. So if you've been noticing that, I just did too, especially the thumbs. I feel like the other nails I couldn't tell. So anyway, getting into Lancome, I have 2 palettes. These were both holiday collections, and I love this one. Okay, this is in collaboration with the Louvre. I believe Lisa Eldridge also is the one who kind of like creatively directed this collection as well, if I'm not mistaken. And I just think it's so stunning. The powders are beautiful. I love this. I love this so much. It's kind of subtle overall in how it is. It has this beautiful green though as well. I just think this is one of the most beautiful holiday palettes that came out. So more of this, please. Then the next holiday, Lancome came out with this palette, which I will say packaging wise, I do appreciate a little bit more. It has some 3D elements, so I love that about it. But honestly, my excitement for the last year was why I want to try this one. Inside though, I didn't love these shadows as much, and I'm not sure if that's just the colors, like those colors were just easier or better for me or whatnot, but I don't know. I tried to recreate the love and it wasn't there for this one. Although swatching it right now, I'm like, it is still very, very pretty. It's pretty. It's a pretty palette. It's called the Celestial Rose palette. So those are my 2 from Lancome. Next, I have 1 palette from Lawless. This is the Dreamy Dozen palette, and it's a 12-pan palette, mostly mattes. All of these are mattes, and then there are 3 different shimmers. I just found this formula to be a little stiff. I don't know. I didn't find it to be my favorite. The mattes are pretty good, but in terms of shimmers, not the worst. It could be worse, but I do love those silky, I'm telling you, baked kind of gelée. That would be my ultimate, and this is definitely more of like a traditional kind of pressed powder formula. But I do think they've come out with a few other iterations of this kind of neutral palette. Next, we have a few palettes from Lethal Cosmetics. I have quite a few actually, and the newest one, so I'll get you some swatches of that. But I guess we'll start with the Teresa is Dead collabs. I have both of them. I think one was sent to me when I bought. These are both really fun, colorful palettes. This silver is like so intense and beautiful. I do love a collab palette. I think especially now that palettes aren't as in the mainstream, I especially have nostalgia for the collabs, if you will. So love those. The other 2 older Lethal palettes that I have, this one, I think this one was like a retro palette of some sort, or like a summer one. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but really love these types of colors, especially when I was into more colorful eyeshadow. I did, you know, the greens, the pinks, the teals, those are definitely my vibes. And then this one, yeah, it's more grungy. Definitely a grungier palette and color story. I want to say this is like Harvest or Hive or something like that. Sorry for not giving you too much info. I wish they printed it on the back, but I think Lethal's gone through quite a few changes because this is the newest palette, the Lethal Black Spring palette, and inside you can see immediately like totally different setup. They did like single shadows before, so like in these you could pop these all out and you could rearrange, and they had a palette builder. I'm not sure if they still even have that on the website, but in here I would say my favorite shade, so stunning. Oh yeah. Yeah. I love that type of shit. It like flashes this beautiful like icy tealy blue green, but there's like a little bit of almost like a pink to it in some light too. That being said, as a color story, this is another one of those more challenging ones for me, so I definitely kind of have to look at it in individual shadows, but I will say the shimmers are different. It's a different formula than I guess I'm used to with Lethal, but stunning. I mean, super pigmented and stunning. So ooh, let's swatch this too. I mean, what a swampy little dingy chartreuse. I love that. Love that. I'm telling you, I'm sure there are great looks to be had with this. I have not given it a ton of time yet. Again, it is newer, but I really have to single out those shades to get inspired. But when I do that, there seems to be some good stuff in here. What's on my hands? Looking pretty good. Finishing up with L's, I just have Lorac left, which it's kind of crazy that I only have this much Lorac because in the course of my time loving beauty, like I had the Mega Pro when it came out, I had all the way up until the 4th Mega Pro, I think there was like a golden palette, like I really love the Lorac formula, but this is what I have currently. This is the Myrix palette, and looking at it, this really does seem like a good palette more for like makeup artistry. There's just so many tones in here. You could really do so many looks, and specifically the Lorac formula is a little bit more on the powdery side. Like I remember this formula as well as like ABH being a little bit more powdery when it came to mattes and whatnot. Like it'd kick up in the pan and you'd have to really tap off the brush, but they blended so nicely. They were really easy to work with otherwise. I don't know, maybe I need to bust these ones back out. I think this tiny little Mystic Oak one might be a little too old. Like we'll get into it, it's beautiful, but it's getting up there. But I think maybe the Fairy Tale Forest palette could still be good. I think this came out in 2021 and I really love all the shimmers that are in here. It is like an overall very neutral color story, but it does give a little Secret Garden vibes with this little corner over here that I just really love. I think the Lorac shadows honestly are just very quality, but they do remind me of just like an older time in eyeshadow. Not necessarily bad at all, but you know, just an older formula. And then my little Mystic Oak, I had a lot of these little 6 pans. Oh my gosh. I love how compact they are because you really get so many shadows in such a tiny little palette. And honestly, this one had stunning shades. And at the time, there weren't as many, oh my gosh, it's doing acrobatics here. There weren't as many cool tones on the market at the time. So really loved this little palette. This was a favorite for a while, but that's my Lorac and that's all the L's. Moving on to M, I have this palette from MAC. This is my only MAC palette. And if you've watched any of my past declutters, I did declutter this because I didn't love the shadows inside, and I'm so glad I kept it. I just couldn't get rid of this packaging. I had an idea of like taking these shades out and putting different singles in here because they're like the same size as other pans that I have, but I'm glad I kept this one intact more for that kind of makeup archive because this palette really is stunning. I mean, even the shades and color story I think are beautiful. I just, for whatever reason at the time, I did not, oh yeah, like you can kind of see, maybe you can't. There's something about these shimmers that leave a lot to be desired, unfortunately, but there were some like putty shadows in here too that were different. Lots of different formulas going on in here. But I mean, this packaging to me for just like a cardboard, stunning. This is, again, what I want to see. Like I want these nice pieces. This is the Feast Your Eyes palette if you wanted a name for it. Absolutely stunning. So glad I kept it. I'm telling you, so much that I kind of wish I kept. Just kind of where my relationship with makeup is now and getting a little bit older, I can see this as more of a collection outside of what I'm using, and it's like this bigger thing. Anyway, on to Marc Jacobs. This is the only Marc Jacobs palette I have. This was actually like a long time after it was gone, I acquired this, and I am so excited because Marc Jacobs is coming back. And at the time, I had not tried a ton of Marc Jacobs beauty. I wasn't wasn't as into designer makeup as I am now. It just wasn't a brand on my radar as much at the time, but I can't wait to see what we're gonna get in the kind of revamp 2.0 version, if you will. This is one of the, 7 pans that were popular at the time. This was one of the formats that they did. They also did like holiday palettes that were a bit bigger, if I'm not mistaken, but specifically this one is in the color number 790 Fantasine. I have a feeling I would love these palettes now, so again, very excited to see what the rebrand is going to hold. Next, for M's Makeup by Mario, I have quite a few palettes here. I really love this one. It's so funny, I don't have the matte palette, which I think is one of the most popular from him, but I love this all shimmer palette, okay? I'm not sure if you can still get this one, but I just think these shimmers are really pretty. There's some color in here, but overall very neutral, and I really love this. This came out before the Etherealize whole line came out, and it was one of my favorites and one of the only like all shimmer palettes on the market or at Sephora for a long time. That one was called the Master Metallics, but of course I have the Etherealize palettes, all 3 of them. My favorite is the original. I just really love it. I didn't love it initially, and it was one I came around to, and it's stunning. I love this color story. I feel like I can use all the shadows. It's a really great staple palette, and they have brought it back. So if you were interested in this, this is back at Sephora. Then we got the Etherealize Moonlight. Yeah, that's what it's called. And I still think this is also a very pretty palette, especially if you want these cooler tones. I think adding that pop of blue, it makes it seem maybe more colorful, but it's literally the only color in there. Everything else is a grayish, a black. There's some more of those shimmery shades and even some browns too. And then the third one that came out, Etherealize Nature. I don't know why I want to add something else to the names, but just Etherealize Nature, number 3. This one has some more greens, a cranberry in here as well, but overall, again, super neutral. Probably my least favorite out of the 3. If I had to rank them 1, 2, 3 as they came out is how I would, but I'm glad to have them. And I specifically am glad that I got this on the first release in the first wave because it's in nicer packaging. This is like fully metal. It's like more substantial. It's really great. And not that this packaging is bad. I mean, sometimes lighter packaging can be nice for travel or for other reasons, but it's just plastic now and it's just changed a bit. So it's kind of cool to have like the original packaging of how it was. I am making everything a mess. Next for M's, this is the Menagerie palette Serenity, which is in collaboration with Annette's Makeup Corner. And if I can get this thing open, oh yeah, it's so colorful. If you watched any of Annette's videos, you know that this is her. She loves a colorful eye look. She used to do so many just beautiful, bold, really pretty looks, and this palette definitely represented that. I got one Morphe palette, y'all. This came in an advent calendar, I wanna say last year, so it's like new Morphe. I mean, if you were here back in the day, old Morphe, even before the palettes, they were just single shadows, like $2 single shadows. Anyway, this is a 6 pan and it's actually kind of pretty. It's called Outer Spice, and the 2 shades in the middle obviously are the yummiest, the most exciting. I've used this once and I liked it okay. I don't know, maybe I need to give it another shot. I feel like Morphe's definitely having its like comeback moment. I think the releases they've had in the last like 1 or 2 years have definitely been more on trend than what was happening before. So let me know if there's any Morphe products you're loving. Last for M, we're bringing it to another throwback, and we're gonna talk about Musea Beauty. They are no longer around, so you know, this is definitely a time capsule. I loved these palettes, okay? I thought they were so pretty. I thought they were so creative. I love the packaging. I like the color stories. So let's open these babies up. I think Honoree was probably my favorite. Oh, the mirror's kind of fallen out. This has some like blushy tones. They're kind of like terracotta leaning, but they always did a good job. I feel like with 9 shadows, they really created a unique and kind of complex color story, but something I could still see different looks with, which I just really loved about their palettes. Like, I don't know, they struck a really good balance to me. So that's Honoree, I'll keep them open. This one I wanted so bad. It kind of sold out the first time it came out, and then for a while I was just pining after it, but this is Le Jardin Volume 2. Then this is Triumph of Venus. I liked this palette a lot. It had some blues in it, but it had this really pretty like slate gunmetal gray. And once again in here, you can see how you have a lot of cohesive colors, but then these pops that really just offset in a really beautiful way. And then the Van Gogh, this one actually might have been my most used. I was gonna say this is their first palette, but they had the Impressionism, I think it was, palette was like their first one. I just think this is so pretty. This is like grungy sunflower fall time to me. I love it. I love this yellow. I love the baby yellow that's in here too. Just a beautiful color story. And I think while they were here, they were doing some cool stuff. Get ready because the ends are gonna be a lot. It's just dense because we do have Natasha Denona and I have a lot of her palettes, so we'll go through those relatively fast. But before then, we have NARS. I just have 2 palettes, but they come out with these like smaller little limited edition palettes quite often, or at least used to. I feel like now they're more quads than they are bigger palettes, but this is the Afterglow Irresistible palette. They definitely will like redo what they're doing. They're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. They're going to give you colors that are probably what you're gonna actually use, even if it's kind of the same thing from palette to palette. Kind of similar to Bobbi Brown in that way, but I get it. Like I understand it because that is what I wanna wear too. So anyway, this is just a nice, cute little neutral palette. The Summer Unrated palette was one I really, really loved, but as you could tell here, like, is it the same palette? No, it's not. Not quite, just similar. Very similar, warm toned, has those pinky shades as well. Really beautiful. I loved this one. NARS is another one that I definitely had some palettes back in the day, and I wish I had them still, especially when they had that single shadow formula that could be used wet, dry, and they came out with the palette. I had that when it came out, and I'm thinking that's like 2014 maybe when that palette launched. Maybe even 2013, to be honest. Like that's an old palette. Wish I had it. I hope you guys are ready for Natasha Denona palettes. I do have a code with her if you ever are shopping her site. And this is a brand for palettes, like honestly, loved, collected, like you thought that was it. It's not. I think I have almost everything. Like I have almost a complete collection here. So I'm just gonna run through them. It'll be fun to look at. This could be its own video too. So like maybe at some point if you really want to deep dive where we're swatching everything, or I don't know, maybe even rearranging stuff could be fun again. I don't know. I'm gonna start with the oldest stuff here because I do have both of the, they're like stuck together, the bigger Natasha Denona palettes. This was like a Black Friday purchase. Like I saved up for this. I wanted these so bad. There was like the green, brown, blue, purple palettes. I mean, these at the time were so big. I really think of these at the same time as those Artiste brushes when everyone was talking about those. That was also the time the Natasha Denona palettes were the thing, and it took me a while to get into them, but I mean, even these still are absolutely stunning. They're really, really beautiful shadows. In that same kind of packaging, I do have the Metropolis palette. My mirror on this one is coming out, unfortunately, but this is what it looks like. This has the same pan size as the midi palettes, but obviously has so many more pans in it than the midi palettes do. This is a really big palette. I remember at the time thinking it had a lot of like what felt like repeat shades, and I still think that looking at it a bit. Like there are some things that are so similar, but just to think back in the day that this was so exciting, even though it is that many eyeshadows and that many kind of repeats, it just really kind of captures a moment in time, you know, of how we were excited for color stories and just almost ravenous for makeup that I just, you know, what a fun collective moment. Anyway, Natasha Denona Gold palette, what a classic. Really love this palette. This had some of the best like sparkly shades at the time. I feel like these still stand up, to be honest. Like I think they're still really high-end, beautiful little shadows. Like it was a solid formula. I'm telling you, that gold palette is like a classic and I feel like an icon. But moving on to these bigger palettes, for a while, this is what she was releasing. And then we finally got the midi, which makes more sense. Everything was kind of going down in price and becoming more economical while still giving us lots of shadows. And I do like where it ended up, but we'll start with the Trio Chrome because I feel like this one did not get enough love from me or from anyone at the time, but I actually just appreciate this color story so much more the more time that goes on. I just, you know, me and these colors. I love a chartreuse, and this has perfect chartreuses. Really beautiful, like pastel, but still kind of muted purple shades. I don't know. There's just something very dreamy about this color story. The kind of Trio Chrome shades in the middle, I don't think that these were as good as like other kind of you know, duochromes on the market necessarily. Like, they're all more black-based pigmented ones. Like, when the light's not hitting them, they can just definitely be a little dark, but I feel like everything else was actually more the star of the show than, you know, what the palette's kind of named after. Next, we have the Bobbi palette. This one is really beautiful, neutral, and I feel like this was basically remade in the two newer neutral palettes that came out. I actually don't have those ones. There was like a lighter one and a darker one, and I feel like between both of them, it's definitely giving kind of Bobbi vibes. But yeah, this one's a really pretty neutral palette. And then we have the Circo Loco palette. This one is bright, okay? This one is a lot. Always was kind of a interesting color story. Two almost identical oranges. Technically different finishes, but you know, it's it's bold. It's bold. And now we're gonna run through all of the midi palettes, okay? So get ready, because it is a lot. It will be a lot, you guys. This is the I Need a Nude, by far my most used, most loved palette. Obsessed with this one. I just think it's a perfect everyday neutral palette. And I didn't really mention this with the shadows too much, but you can pop all of these out on the back. They all have little holes here. You can pop them out. It's not like the Danessa Myrix ones. They aren't labeled on the back, so I had to go in and label them, but it's really cool if you do buy into the system of it all. You can move the pans around and create new palettes within all the other palettes that you have and all the shadows that you have, and I think that's just a fun way to breathe new life into your palette. So if you've been here, you might know that, or have caught some of my other videos in the past where I literally sit down and rearrange stuff. But anyway, as a palette that's all put together, this is my favorite. Next though, this is the My Dream palette. We kind of saw some of these with the alter ego dupes of these palettes, but here are the originals. This one's like a duochrome. Then we have the Golden palette. I still think that the original gold palette is superior to this gold palette. I just think the textures in there are beautiful. I love that it's not just straight up neutrals, and there are some of those blues that can pull kind of green, and it just gives you a lot of range in that palette while still being overall very neutral, whereas this one just is missing any of the kind of fun that that palette had. Still great golden shadows if that's what you want though. Next, here's Sunrise. I think this is one of the worst in terms of quality personally. Still not horrible necessarily, but I felt like this was, yeah, one of my least favorites in terms of the palettes. This is the Pastel palette. I do think this one's really fun. Again, always love the chartreuse, and I am drawn to pastels, but these are pretty light overall. I mean, they are pastels and they perform like pastels. The Bronze palette, I'm like, was this one of my first palettes? Definitely my first midi palette. I loved this thing. This is a very similar toned palette, but I got tons of use out of this. I really, really did love it, especially some of the different ones like Rhodium here. I really like this, but very monochromatic overall. Like, you're getting a similar look out of this, no matter what you're really picking. Next is the Retro. I think this one's really beautiful as well. I think I like this more than the Retro Glam palette even. I think the Retro Glam looks prettier, but I think this is more usable. Speaking of the Retro Glam, this is what it looks like, and then inside, like I said, I feel like this inside looks so beautiful, but I actually find some of these greens hard to work with on my skin tone. Like, I don't know, just they're a little bit harder, yeah, to make look effortless. This one here is the Roxa palette. Have not given this the love that I probably should have, but I don't know, I feel like this one launched kind of when my love for palettes was dying a bit, so it didn't seem as exciting, but honestly, this shade here is really beautiful. Really, really beautiful. Next, this is the Yucca palette. I absolutely love this one. I do think this color story is just, again, there's something so rich and like yummy about it. Just the tones and how they are. It just feels like a very unique palette, and I'm a sucker for these little greens. I'm a sucker for the greens. Next we have Bloom. This one I just felt like was redundant. You know, pretty nonetheless, but just compared to like all the palettes that have come out, I just feel like we've seen versions of this so many times. Like, even if I like Equinox, okay? You know me, I'm a sucker for this kind of shade, but like, you know, this kind of warm peachy thing, I feel like we've definitely seen in a lot of palettes before this. The Zendo palette, it. I feel like at the time this was a really interesting color story. It had those warm tones, but it also still had some blues and greens and was like a mix, but maybe a little bit more in terms of quality, closer to the Sunrise palette. Ooh, okay, the Glam palette. This was like the cool tone palette at the time. I really did like this palette, but the I Need a Nude just showed me how much more I like that one. And maybe that one's even a more neutral palette. Like, yes, some cool tones, but it also has some warm. And so overall, it kind of comes across neutral in terms of tone. And out of the two, I'd pick I Need a Nude. Next is I Need a Warm palette. And this is when I thought, okay, who needs this? Like, redundant, we've seen it, but you know what? In practice, this is actually one that's gotten a lot of use for me, and this is one of my top, like, probably 3 palettes that I've showed. There's something about this warm tone that isn't so warm that it's like orange or red even, and so it gives like a kind of fall vibe and a summer vibe, but it's not quite as deep as like something like the Bronze. There's just something about this one. This is actually ranked so high even though it might not seem like it should be based off the color story. Next we have the Xenon palette. It wasn't focusing, but the outside kind of looks almost Star Warsy. This looks so boring and just monochromatic and like, okay, grayscale palette, but for a grayscale palette, if that is something you're looking for, there is just so much texture in here. I think that's what I love about this, that there's mattes, there's like some softer kind of sheens and shimmers, there's chunkier silvers, there's more sparkle heavy icy white shades. This has almost like a pink to it. And so yes, the difference is subtle, but I just think, you know, texturally with shadows, there's something so fun to be played with there. And I think it's fun that it was done with such a limited color story. And last, guys, we did it. This is the Love palette. Definitely an older one of the midi palettes. And again, I feel like this lines up with the Sunrise and with the Zendo in terms of quality. Like, again, not the worst, but I can tell that they're older. I can tell that they're a little older, but that's all the Natasha Denona, guys. a lot. Last, to finish out the ends though, I have a few Nomad palettes. I don't have a ton. I know they have so many, but out of the 3 that I have, I would say that the Ghost Town USA one's my favorite. It has that kind of lenticular. I think it's lenticular, something like that. That's what the effect is, where you can like change the picture. Anyway, inside, look at that. It's a huge palette, honestly, absolutely massive, but I really just love the tones, and each of these can be like different 6 pans. You kind of have like the neutrally 6 pan. If you do the middle, it's kind of like a gray blue, and then on the end here is a little bit more of like a sagey green. But of course, you can kind of play around wherever you want, and I just think this is really pretty for such a big palette. I think it's on theme and it works for me. Next is the Cartagena Magica palette, and this one, I mean, when I open it, this is gonna be, if there are bright colors, this is what I want to wear. I love this. The chartreuse, we know. I love a little light yellow, and even these orange tones, which maybe I'm not as drawn to normally. Something about this palette, it's just so fun. It's bright, it's summery, it's fresh. It gets me excited. So I always keep this one around. Really, really love this color story. And then last here, this is the Fuji 5 Lakes palette, which this has like a lot of texture on it. And then inside we got red, yellow, blue. It kind of has this primary feel to it, but I do feel like there's enough also going on that it doesn't feel too basic, which is kind of a feat in its own right. Yeah, that's the Fuji 5 Lakes, and those are all my N palettes. And if you thought N's were dense, I need you to hold on, because we only got one brand, and it's Odin's Eye, and we have a lot. Okay, I'm an affiliate with Odin's Eye. I have a code with them. You can always use Lauren to save money. I also did my own collab palette, which we'll get to, but this isn't everything. I like to tease what we got going on. Yeah, it's a lot. We got a lot to go through, okay? We're gonna start with my collab palette, because why not? My collab came out with Betty Jean here. We have Amanda Makeup Just for Fun, and then my little palette. I had the Sea Talk palette, and I did kind of like an underwater treasure coral fantasy. That was my inspiration. And as you can tell, I love a chartreuse. I picked this one to be this really beautiful velvety satin of a chartreuse, so it has a little bit of shine. It looks so good on the inner corner. But if you were here when this came out and you bought it and you've supported it, I just appreciate you so much. I hope that you loved your palette and made some really beautiful looks. I also, with this palette, wanted it to have some different quad. So there's like an all neutral quad here. You have like a blue quad on that side, and then in the middle we have some pops of color, so you can kind of play around however you want, hopefully get inspired. And I just love this, and yeah, good memories all around here. You know, so grateful to have an opportunity like this, and so grateful for you guys being here and, you know, watching my videos, supporting my channel. It means so freaking much, and it's just crazy. Like, this was like bucket list. Couldn't believe it happened. Then for Amanda's palette, this is the Flora Story palette, and this was purples and greens, a really beautiful color story here. And then we had Betty Jean's, which was definitely the pop of color. This is Planet Spirit, and it almost has, to me, like kind of an 80s theme. Now looking at it, I'm like, I definitely see some of those neons. Just really punchy, really fun. Odin's Eye has done a lot of collabs though, so we're gonna go through, I guess, all those first, but this is the newest one. This is the Heather Austin collab. It came out earlier this year, and it's actually a little bit different because these are actually single shadows, so you can kind of put them in the palette however you want to. Love that she had a little chartreuse in there. That one's all matte, and there are just some stunning shades if you wanted to check this one out. I mean, look at those shimmers. Really a fun palette for spring. Another one that I think just, you know, pops of color here and there. There really are a lot of different looks that you can do in here, but I also believe you can buy all of them individually, which is just really nice as well. Next for collabs, this is part 1 and part 2 for the trio of collabs that came out with Judy, Annette, and Tina. Love all of them. Let me get these organized here. We'll do the originals up top, and we'll do the second iterations on the bottom. These are the first collabs that they did on top, and then they came out with a second collab, you know, collab, because it's them collabing all together in one collection, but a second version of it. Oh my gosh. Starting off, the Red Dragon palette. This is Judy's first palette with Odin's Eye. It was like warm toned, very neutral. And then for her second palette, she did something a little bit more pastel. A little bit. It's a full pastel palette with lots of really beautiful shimmers in there. Annette did the Giant Wolves palette initially. This was very cool toned, had some blues, grays, some really deep shades as well. And then for her second palette, the Mighty Monster, this one was a little bit more poppy in color, but very much still Annette. Again, she loves color, so I felt like this was very her. And then I love Tina so much. This is her first palette, Hummingbird. She's the fancy face on YouTube here. Definitely go check her out. Her first palette had a tropical vibe to it. Lots of shimmers. I love that. She also loves a good color, loves a good texture. She's always been here for the makeup, let me tell you. And then this is her second palette, the Earthwood. I really love that there are some pastels in here, but they're still a little bit more saturated. And overall, it was cool to see them come back and collab a second time. Continuing on with the collabs, this one is with Morgan Turner. Also love her channel if you want makeup reviews. She does tons. And this is the Love Language palette, which has a really just fun, romantic, I feel like girly theme. I love the pinks and the purples, but then there's still some neutrals in there. So you really can get quite a few different looks in here. I feel like this also breaks up nicely in the different quads if you want to do it that way. And then if I'm not mistaken, I think this is last for collabs, but I have all of Angelica's collabs with Odin's Eye. First, the Hella palette. This is the first palette they came out with, which has tons of these grungy greens and yellows with the pops of pink in it. A very pretty palette, very bold. I mean, I do love a little grungy green. And then these were like Halloween collabs, and they came out together. So we have the Trick or Treat and also the Little Ghost. The Trick or Treat is a little bit more, I don't want to say classic Halloween, because it just has the, I think the orange is just, you know, it makes me think of pumpkins, but it has this kind of fall Halloween vibe to it with greens, orange, some burgundies as well, some neutrals, pops of yellow, lots of colors in here. I just love the artwork on these palettes. I think they're so pretty, but this is the Little Ghost inside, and this one has more of the blues, the purples, still a few oranges, and I love the yellow here as like a pop to contrast with the purple, but those are all the collab palettes if I'm not mistaken. I'm gonna keep it going with these bigger 16 pan palettes because that's a pretty popular format for Odin's Eye. So this was a collection that came out, I wanna say in 2020, it was either last year, 2025, or maybe 2024. I think it was 2025 last year. There's spring, summer, autumn, and winter in here, and all the palettes have corresponding kind of colors. I felt like this was a lot of shadow to come out at one time, so it was a little bit hard to really, I feel like, give each of these the attention that in some ways they deserve. And I feel like the color stories also aren't necessarily super monochromatic, and so you know, they have like overlapping colors within them, and especially when you see them all next to each other, it's hard to see the distinctions in a way. So I feel like these could have been a little bit smaller maybe. Let me know your thoughts if you've tried these palettes out, but this is spring, again, summer, autumn, and winter. I think my favorite, it's hard to tell because I'm telling you, again, we gotta get each little individual eyeshadow and then I feel like I have a better idea of what I want to do. But when I look at one palette, I'm not as inspired as I am by each individual shadow on its own. I love this blue. I like this yellow. I think maybe though, the autumn palette might be my favorite out of all four. And then the last set of these 16 pan eyeshadow palettes are the Christmas palettes. Okay, I was obsessed with the two original that came out. Obsessed. The Merry Christmas palette, I'm gonna show you in a second. Literally, you could not make a colorful palette more me, I feel like, than that one. They did re-release them a few times, and I believe now they have them in singles, kind of like Heather's palette. It's more like this. So you can get packaging that looks like this, where you can put the individual shadows in and have the same palette as this, but in a smaller, more condensed form, which I actually really love. That being said, let me get into these because, again, artwork wise, obsessed with how all of these look. I love the look of these palettes on the outside. This is Merry Christmas, and ooh, look at this. I mean, what a yummy color story. Look at the shimmers in here. We have some really nice neutrals, the pops of green, you know I love, a pop of pink. I'm telling you, those two together, take me out. Take me out. It really does have that classic kind of Christmas theme with the red and green, but it does the reds a little bit more muted, like just a little bit different, and then has these really fun pops that I think just make it so festive, but like modern and kind of whimsical, and it just is a killer. It's a killer palette for me. I love this color story still. I love these finishes still as well. Just stunning. Should I keep them open? Let's see them all out together. Then we have the Christmas Eve palette, which was more cool tone, so it has more blues, purples, icier shades, still a green in there, a little swampy, little neutral. Definitely still a pretty palette, just didn't quite hit as much as that Merry Christmas. I'm telling you, that one was my shit. I think these two came out together, Silvery Bliss and Rosy Jingle, and then Snow Dream and Hey Reindeer came out together. And I think this one came out in the next year. So looking at Hey Reindeer, again, I love the outside of the packaging here. Inside, I still do like this color story. It has some pastels, but it's just not quite as cohesive. I think maybe the theme was a little bit harder, but again, each individual is pretty. I had more issues, I want to say, with the Snow Dream palette. Again, obsessed with the outside. Inside, I definitely like this one a lot more in terms of color story and theming. It has an icy feel, some of those sagey greens with the red, but the holographic or like holochrome shadows that were in here I didn't love, and some of these are just so light, they weren't showing up in the way I loved, so I didn't feel like the quality was there as much on this one. And then we got a third iteration of holiday palettes with Silver Bliss and Rosy Jingle. I'm not as familiar with these palettes as I am the other holiday ones because they came out a little bit later and I was kind of moving on from palettes, but I do like that red kind of theme. And then Rosy Jingle, definitely an alternative kind of Christmas, but if you've ever seen my Christmas decor, honestly, this is kind of how my Christmas looks a lot of the time. Like I have a baby pink tree and I love a little whimsical, weird, kitschy ornament. Like, so in terms of color story, I like this, but again, I don't have quite as much experience with these ones. And I just think the OG palettes, the first two that came out, were top notch. Top notch. Can't recreate the magic that happened in the Merry Christmas Christmas palette, okay? It will be my forever favorite Christmas palette probably that's ever come out. It doesn't stop there, guys. We still have this smaller size, which I'm missing one. Where is it? Okay, found it. We have the Solmain palettes here. They're both two. One is the Moon Wish, because before this style, Odin's Eye had a lot of other palettes. I wish I still had those ones. I guess I don't have everything. I don't have like the oldest collections that they've done, but I did really like the format of all these palettes, and my favorite is the Stone and Rock. We'll get to that one last, but this is the Solmain number 2. Love this color story. I thought this one was absolutely stunning, and I believe this came out with the blushes at the time. Then this is part 2, which is a little bit deeper and more blue and purple themed overall. Kind of similar though. And then these two came out in the same exact collection. So this is Jewels and Gems. Oh my gosh, no. I like the Jewels and Gems over the Stone and Rock. I mean, this to me, in terms of a neutral palette in the indie world, this gives you so much pizzazz. One of my favorite palettes Odin's Eye has ever done. This, the Merry Christmas, and of course mine. I have some other obviously that I love, but those would be my top 3 for sure. Even this black is just stunning. It has like such a nice fine shimmer running through it and sparkle that it gives this like oil slick galaxy, just kind of grungy rock goddess vibe. Love. The Stone and Rock one was more green toned, which I still love this one. This is probably in the top 5, like number 4 of the other ones I just mentioned. Yeah, I mean, you can see how the shimmers are just shining in here too. Definitely a great palette launch. Like, I loved this collection. And last, we have 2 big palettes. Now, I'm not a big fan of these ones. Just the size alone is intimidating and it's just a lot, but this is the Eternal Twilight palette. It had like 2 sections. It's like warm and cool all in one, and it's just a lot. It's just a lot. It's just not my preference personally. And it also had more of those like tie-dye shadows, which I don't love a tie-dye shadow. I mean, they look cool in the pan, but in terms of using, it can just be a little bit tricky. You gotta really make sure you're blending them out and all that, you know, in use. So I didn't necessarily love that palette. And then this is the Ice Crystal palette. In some ways a similar concept and like setup. This was the holiday collection, I wanna say in 2025, like the holiday palette. And I like the pastels. I actually like the color story, and I think it could have been better. Smaller, a little more condensed down, maybe in the 16 pan format. I maybe would have liked it more because, I mean, yeah, I like a lot of the shades in this one, actually so much more than some of the other palettes, but the size, there's a lot of leftover room. Like we could get it smaller. I know we could. And we did it, guys. That is all the Odin's Eye. Moving on to P's, I have my Pat McGrath palettes. I don't have a ton, you know, considering how many motherships are out there and whatnot. I don't have a ton of Pat McGrath, but I have a few things here. I have some of the holiday collections. We'll start with this, which isn't a part of the Bridgerton collection, I don't think. No, it just looks like it. And she did do a Bridgerton collection, just not these palettes. I know, it's confusing. It's confusing. I love the outer look of these. They're just cardboard, but I do love that kind of gaudy and like maximalist look of these. But they were eye and face palettes, and those are definitely not my personal favorite. So this one here is the Bijou Brilliance palette. I just didn't think these shadows were that great quality. To be honest, they just weren't. You got a lot for the price, but I don't think the quality was there, especially compared to like the motherships. Like this was giving Too Faced to me, like pretty Too Faced. Okay, and then this one, I definitely loved this color story more. Okay, Bijou Brilliance I think was the collection. This is Jeweled Temptation, and then this one is Starstruck Splendor. Love this color story so much more, but again, I just don't need necessarily eye and face all together. I get that during holiday, that's kind of like the value that can be there. You know, we're gonna keep seeing that, but just kind of for my own preferences, I think these would have been really great, more separate. What year was this? Maybe 2023 or 2024? Maybe even 2022, because this is the Mothership Mega Celestial Odyssey palette. I was so excited for this, and I really loved this palette. I think this is one of the better holiday collections, and I just really loved these shadows overall. There aren't any like special shades, unfortunately, but I do think they're like all very high quality. quality and really, really pretty. The looks I did with it, absolutely loved. So that is Celestial Odyssey. And then of course we have the Mothership. Yeah, this is Mothership 5. And ooh, I mean, we all talk about these special shades and that's because they are truly so special. Okay, this one, I'm mixing stuff here, but I love this dry, flaky shadow, okay? I do. I love the texture of something that's dry. I can get on with the squishy shadows and those can be really pretty. I'll use them, whatever, but if I had a preference, I do like them dry because I feel like you really get to see the texture of the shadow when it's drier instead of more of a cream. There's just something to it. It lets it sparkle and shimmer and it just catches the light differently. Just a stunning neutral palette. I had my problems with it, but again, I just feel like my tastes have changed so much over the years that I really feel like revisiting this, I would love it so much more than ever, probably more than ever. But this is old. 2018 maybe, maybe 2018. Next for P's, I have one Patrick Ta palette. This is the first one, Major Dimension eyeshadow palette. I think it's the first one. Yeah, I don't have the second one anymore because I did feel like maybe it had gone a little bad. I think this one looks okay. I really did love this palette. I also loved the rose one that came out, but what I really love are the eyeshadow duos. You guys know that. So highly recommend those, especially the new iteration that came out at holiday last year. They're permanent, but if you're looking for really beautiful special shadows, kind of similar to the Bobbi Brown ones I showed earlier, that's definitely what I recommend. And I think that those are definitely better in terms of shimmers than anything in this palette for sure. The mattes are nice, but the shimmers have definitely been improved in those duos. And then last for P's, I have the Persona palettes. I have the Identity palette and the Identity 2. I love the Identity palette so much. This little quad up here, especially these two Seductive, I love this as a one and done taupey shadow on my lids. It's not too deep, but it does give me kind of a sultry look, and it's just one of the best taupey eyeshadows out there, honestly. Love the mattes that are in here. I just think this is a really well done palette. Yeah, if you're looking for a neutral palette, this one's stunning. And then this is Identity 2, which is the more colorful palette, but everything in here is just a little bit more neutral. So blue, the purple, the green, they all kind of are a little bit, they're jewel toned, but still kind of muted even in that. And if you want some color but want it a little more refined, I think this is nice too. So I'd love to see singles from Persona. I think those would do so well. Shadow sticks, I could see being so great for them as well. All right, we're moving on to R, and it's a pretty small category, but first here we have Ronnie Cosmetics, two different palettes from them. This is Eshani's brand, Total Makeup Junkie, and we have the Shattered Gems palette here, which is a little more of a muted but still colorful palette. And then the Molten Tides is more of like a beachy neutral with a pop of blue. I really love this metallic, kind of almost a ballet slipper shade is what I would call it. It's so, so pretty. And then the only other R palette that I have is from REM Beauty. This is the Wicked palette that came out. I don't know if I would have really paid attention to this palette much if it wasn't sent to me, but it is really great quality, like surprisingly great quality. I think they nailed it on this one. So if it was one you were looking at, it was good. It was really good. I have a short swatching it if you want to see more in-depth swatches. Moving on to S, we have Shroud Cosmetics, which I don't believe is around anymore. And these are the two collaborations with Betty Jean. This is the It's Freaking Bats palette. Love this color story. I love this periwinkle. Love a little grungy green. I just think it's so cute. It's the cutest little spooky palette. And then the Halloween palette is a little bit more of that, like, I don't know, grungy but traditional kind of Halloween colors with the oranges and the greens. So love those little collab palettes. Then we have Sigma. I have quite a few of their palettes. These were sent to me and I do have a code with Sigma as well. In no particular order, I'm gonna start with the Little Mermaid palette. This is one of the more recent ones. I know they just came out with one, but in terms of like some of the collabs they've done with Disney, I think this is the most recent one. Beautiful. Love swimming. I do think that Sigma makes a great eyeshadow, especially neutrals. They have some really great neutral palettes if that's what you're into. And this is probably the most color and like texture I've really seen them do. And they're really good. They're really, really good. So I thought that was a great palette. This is the Angela Bright collab, the Champagne Problems color. I mean, perfect every day. Perfect everyday shadow. Absolutely love that one. It has really great neutrals, some mattes, but some pops of color as well. Next, this is the new Mod palette. Another one that I think is stunning if you want neutrals. It has a lot more of those like mauve-y kind of cranberry shades and avant-garde. You already know. This is the Cool Neutrals palette from Sigma, and I think this one's really pretty and done well with the different mattes that kind of match up to each shimmer. There's definitely still some warm shades in here, but I do think it was well thought out in terms of the shades that are in here and how you could pair them for basically 2 shadow looks. Next, we have the Enchanted palette. This was like as colorful as Sigma got for a while, but this is the type of color I love. I love these shimmers in here. Again, another kind of Secret Garden themed palette. Sigma did a few other collabs with Disney. This one's the Cinderella palette, and I feel like this one, looking at it, I'm like, but every single look I've done with this, I literally loved on my eyes. Like, I loved everyone. Next, this is the Beauty and the Beast palette, and this one was a little more neutral with just like a pop of navy. It had some like pinky purples. Definitely a little more on the wearable and neutral side. And then my last Sigma palette, the Ambiance palette, this is really golden, really bronze. Overall, very monochromatic, but again, I do think that they do great shimmers and great like neutrals. Next, we have some Singe Beauty palettes. I don't have the, I think it was the first one that came out, but I have the other 3 that Singe has come out with. This is Angelica's brand. There's the Succulent Dew. This one's a really beautiful purple, green, and kind of pinky cranberry palette. Very pretty. There's Agate Temptation, which is like greens and some oranges. There's some reds. And then my favorite, the Paisley Hoot. This is a beautiful neutral palette. I think she really killed it with this one. I know she loves the color, but I love a little neutral, and this one is really stunning. It still has some fun saturated colors though, and the shimmers have a really nice sparkly finish to them. Really fun color stories. I'm always excited to see what the next color story will be. Oh my gosh, these ones bring me back, you guys. The Sugar Pill, the original fun size, and then I do have the fun size too, and I have like a ton of stickers that are like themed. You guys, I love little trinkets. I love little collectibles. Like, I love it. Anyway, when these launched, they had stickers with them, and I still have those too, which I just love. But fun size 2, let's take a look. Oh man, all matte. Very fun. Pastel with a punch. It's like pastels that aren't so pastel, they're not gonna show up type of thing. Just loved it. Loved it. I mean, I love it. Then we had the fun size 2, which I didn't love this color story as much. Like number 1 still has my heart over 2, but still just so fun. And these are the type of pieces that I just think are so cool to still have, you know what I mean? And like to be able to look at and just they hold memories. And I'm not sure if these are around. I'm really not sure what Sugar Pill's doing, but I have a big place in my makeup memory heart for these. And last for S, I have 3 palettes from Sydney Grace. The California Coast palette. They used to do like a Christmas in July sale. I'm not sure if they still do that, but it's like a week-long sale. And I remember at one point this kind of came with an order I made then, but I think this is one of the most beautiful color stories. It's kind of giving I Need a Nude, but this came out before that. I just love these kind of neutral tones. Some of them are a little more cool leaning, but some of them still have some warmth and a little bit of rosiness as well to them. And I really like the Sydney Grace formula. They're an indie brand, and I've always compared their shadows most to like Natasha Denona. I just feel like matte wise, they didn't have as many like shimmery, flaky toppers, but they had just really pigmented metallics and like satins and whatnot. Like so pigmented, so luxe as well. And then these are both collabs. This is another collab with Tina, the Fancy Face, the Tropic Color palette. Now this one is colorful, okay? There's a lot going on in here. It is like a substantial palette too, just because these pans are quite large, like a lot of product. I love this blue in here. Love Dr. Bird. Just another kind of fun tropical palette. And then this one here is the Tiny Marvels, which was in collaboration with Mel Thompson, and she has since passed. So RIP to her. She was a big beauty lover, and I am so glad to have this palette. It was a beautiful color story, really cool artwork on the front as well. She had a lot of tattoos, and I believe her tattoo artist did the artwork for that. So just a really beautiful palette and a great piece of makeup to have still. And here we go. We're moving fast, guys. We're on to teas, and that brings us to Tarte. I have this little tiny Tartelette palette here. This is just a 6-pan, the Tartelette Jewel. Honestly, one of the best little palettes they've ever come out with. I was obsessed with this. I love the matte shades. I love the 2 shimmers. They're very like sparkly, a little thicker though, a little more opaque than maybe I even go for now. A nice like satin highlightery shade, great mattes. Like it was just a perfect tiny pocket palette, and I do love something that is small. And then this was another acquisition from Eshani's collection that I had to keep. I never had this big old golden pineapple palette from Tarte. It was one of their holiday collections, but I couldn't let it go. I was like, I'm snatching this one. Let me open it up. Oh my gosh. Putting my fingers in it. This is what it looks like on the inside. So it has the face palette here and eyeshadows. I mean, this was just a huge palette at the time. Like, I remember people liking this, and it's really cool actually that it's like such a substantial palette and shaped and like really formed in. I don't feel like we get that as often nowadays, but yeah, old school Tarte palette. Let me know if you had this one when it came out. And then the only other teas that I have are some palettes from Too Faced. So this is the Born This Way, the Natural Nudes. It's a bigger palette. I don't have any of like the Sweet Peach or any of the ones in the tins. I really wish I had my PB&J palette. Oh my gosh, if you were here when I got that back in the day, what is that, like 2016, 2017 maybe? I love that little PB&J palette, okay? I kind of wish I had that. Anyway, this is what it looks like. I really haven't used it much, but the swatches I've done, it seems okay. And then this one's like a smaller palette. It's 6 pans, but really on this one I was more drawn to the color story because it was more cool tones, and I do like the shimmers, I like the mattes, but it's just okay. It's not one you need to necessarily go out of your way to get, I don't think personally, but I liked the colors. We're getting close to the end here because we're at U's. We're getting to the unique part of the alphabet here, but this is from Unearthly Cosmetics. It's the only palette I have, and this is the Spring Magic palette, which when I open this, ooh, now this is a beautiful big indie palette, okay? This to me, the shimmers that are in here, shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up. Yeah, I love that. I love. They're like pastel and springy and just so shiny and ethereal, and they just make me think of fairies, and I just love this. This is my soul inside of me, I feel like. This reminds me of pink hair me. And then everything else for Use is Urban Decay. I have like a mix of stuff here, lots of different shapes, lots of different textures. This is where I wish I had like my old Wizard of Oz collection or the Oz collection. I used to also have the like original Electric palette, just things that, again, I thought I was doing the right thing and I wish I had it back. Okay, anyway, let's talk about what I do have though. I'm gonna talk about the Stoned Vibes because I still think this is one of the best palettes that Urban Decay has come out with, and you can't tell me otherwise. I love the outside. This is like 3D, and then inside, these were kind of squishy at the time. They've kind of dried out, but really beautiful. They are that tie-dye, which I know I've talked about hating, but I loved it in this palette. All the shadows had what felt like a little bit of iridescence to them. There were 4 mattes on the outside, and I just thought it was inspired and fun. And this was right before, really, I feel like the more toppery, flaky, see-through, wet shine shadows were really taking over and becoming like more popular. I loved this. I love this palette. This one was from Holiday. I want to say last year they sent me this one, and it has some of the moon dust shadows in here in the center, which of course I absolutely love the moon dust shadows. Let me zoom out a little so you can see the full star here, because I can appreciate the packaging. It can be a little annoying to store, but also for a holiday launch, it is really fun. I'm really glad they kept going with that moon dust formula because I don't think it was as popular initially, but it finally, you know, found its right audience. The only like naked palette that I have is the original, and this is the re-release of it, but I had this when it was out originally and I did love it. I also had the 2 and the 3, but I was not someone who got all the like the honey and the cherry. There were so many heat. How many naked versions were there? But this is an icon, a classic. This one's a little newer. It came out last year. It's the warm version of this naked palette. Naked shaped is what they call it. It slides up, has no mirror or anything. Some pretty shades, I will say. I think these are pretty. These are creams. It's just okay. I don't know. I felt like this just feels a little cheap, and it packed a lot in here, but I don't know if that like helped it or was like a good thing. This little naked palette I really like. It basically felt like a mini version of the Naked 3. It's called the Naked Sin. Pretty light overall. Obviously Sin's a big player in here, but then it's like some rosy neutrals. Next here, this is the Wired palette, which was basically their revamped version of the Electric palette, and it had some of the same shades. And in some ways I do like these colors more. I don't think it had like a green like this quite in the original Electric palette, but it did have this pink. I believe it had Chaos. There were definitely some crossover colors, but also some new ones. Wish I had both. Wish I had both. I don't know if they still have this. And then here we have another acquired palette. This is the Elements palette, and this was a holiday palette for sure. I remember Kelly really loving this one specifically, but it has some neutrals. It also has some colorful shadows. So pretty. I did not have this at the time it came out, so just kind of cool to see it. You know me, loving that. I kind of like that it was round. It's definitely fun when holiday is like, I don't know, a little more substantial, a little different. At least looking back, it makes it more interesting. Okay, we're on to V's, which again, we're getting so close. I have one Violet Voss palette. This one's stayed around because it's the Cool Vibes palette. And inside, I love the color story. I don't love how big the pans are. They're just so big. It's a lot of product, but they're just so big. This whole thing could have been so much smaller and I would have loved that so much more, but that's the Violet Voss Cool Vibes palette. It's so funny, out of all the Violet Voss palettes that have come through my collection, this is the one I have still. This next section of V's is pretty big. This is Viseart, and I have a lot of different palettes that have over 6. We'll start with these larger palettes. This is the Cashmere, and probably my favorite. I mean, look at it. It's stunning, so beautiful. I really do like the Viseart formula. I think it's great. This is the Coyish Entendu. I also quite like this one because it's all shimmer and it has more of those like ethereal lighter shades to it. This is the Minxette Entendu palette. It's like a very toasty, warm bronze. And then this is Soleil La Plage, and it has that kind of beachy theme. I really am drawn to this blue because it is, again, kind of lighter and has like a teal to it. I love a blue with a teal, little bit of green in there. These, I believe, are called the Edit palettes. So they have a lot of pans still, but they're just smaller and shrunk down, which I love. And all of these pop out kind of same to the Natasha Denona in that system. So again, if you kind of buy into these and they all have the same pan shape, you can really move them around, which is nice. This is the Koi, what is this called? Petite Shimmers Koi, which is similar to the other Koi palette. This is the Paris Edit. I really love that one. It's very like romantic looking. And then last for these ones, the Petite Shimmers Paris Nudes. This one has a lot of great like satiny kind of shades to it. And then these are all little 8-pan palettes, and I love how compact they are. They're also quite collectible. They have an Etoile collection, which is stars, and this is the San Francisco one. And there's also some like stars and the skyline of San Francisco on the back. There's also, this is a Paris one, I believe, yeah. And this one is Paris Etoile. So that's the Paris. This one's Shoo Shoo. This one is so fun. So fun. Like, I love a hot coral and a hot pink. This one just says Petite Pro on it, so I'm not sure if it has a more exact name than that, but another kind of corally bronze. There's another Soleil here. This color story came to play. Love the yellow and purple contrast. And then these, I believe, are the different Petite Pro. So we have Deux, Trois, and so this is one. This definitely feels like a neutral palette back in the day. Deux is a little more rosy. And Trois is like this beautiful, again, secret garden kind of color story. Really, really pretty. That's my pretty large Viseart collection. Next, we're on to W's, and this one should be a blast from the past, you guys. This is from Wet n Wild. It's the old Comfort Zone palette. It's a little busted because it's so fragile, but we'll open it up. Oh my gosh. This was basically one of the best priced, best, you know, quality drugstore palettes you could get back in the day. Like, this is what we all were using. We were using the Comfort Zone palette from Wet n Wild. I actually really love this formula now because it's metallic but still kind of soft, and there's something about this texture that I think lays really great on my eyelids as they get older. So yeah, what a throwback, right? These are the kind of pieces I really, really enjoy being able to kind of actually hold and look back at, even if that one has seen better days. The only other W's I have are my What's Up Beauty palettes, and honestly, these are some of my favorite indie shadows. You'll see the color stories and you'll understand why, but I like the artwork, and I feel like the artwork also gives you a good idea of like what shadows are gonna be in there. And this is the newest one. Let me start with that one. I know we're like at the end of this video, so if you were wanting this and you're still here, hopefully this is helpful. But this is the new Skyfire palette, and oh my gosh, look at it. Look at it. It has just all the ethereal shades I want, love, and need in a palette. These are some of the best shimmers out there, you guys. Like, look. Yeah. These are the type of shadows I live for, as we know, as we've seen throughout this video. Like, this is what gets me excited. And these are the colors that I genuinely wear, even now that I'm more into simpler looks and neutral looks. Like, I will still rock this single shadow all over my lid. Love it. Obviously, this palette is new, so I'm still playing around with it. But if you like the other palettes from What's Up Beauty, you're gonna love this one too. Just stunning. Some of my other favorites, though, that have come out. This one's the Dragon Eye palette. Again, some different ethereal shimmers, some that kind of feel like they overlap, but I'll take it. Like, I want them in every freaking palette, you guys. Like, yeah. Next here is the Desert Monsoon palette, and this one doesn't have quite as many of those same like ethereal colors, but it does have some different shimmers and a lot of nice mattes. They're also in AZ, so I love that they did a monsoon because I'm from Arizona originally, and we would get all the monsoons and the haboobs and all of that, so it really made me think of that. And then last for What's Up Beauty, this is the Geodes palette, and once again, we're getting some really beautiful ethereal shades, but some greens. They always have some great mattes to pair with everything. I just think that they do some great palettes. I would say Dragon's Eye and the new Skyfire are my favorite in terms of color story. I'll put them next to each other so you can see them. I mean, I feel like they play so nicely together too. Oh, so pretty. These are definitely the two I would recommend. I think they're the most recent two as well, so they just keep getting better with each launch. And I believe we've made it to the end. We're ending with a Y. I don't have a Z palette. Well, I do have Z palettes, but a palette with the name Z, you know what I mean. Anyway, this is the YSL new 9 pan that came out actually this year, and it's another one of those palettes. It's like a designer trend, it seems, for these larger eyeshadow limited edition palettes. So this is the Couture Eye palette, 9 shades of brown shadows is what it says on the back. And when you open it up, it has a big mirror. You get 2 really beautiful shimmer shades. This is kind of shimmery as well, but these are really the 2 that stand out as shimmers, and I do think that they're very pretty. I love the one in the center the most, just because it's a little bit lighter for me. I would say this one runs a little bit deeper than you might expect, at least for me. Like, these are gonna give me a lot of pigment, and I'm definitely going to be doing a full-on eye look when I use these, especially the mattes. So it's definitely not one of those like really light, barely there neutral eyeshadow palettes. I do really like the YSL formula, and I do feel like this matches up. It just depends on if you like this, and I thought the format was different enough, and I love that Charlotte Tilbury palette, to be honest, that I was like, I'm gonna give this one a try too. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed taking a look at my large eyeshadow palette collection and just walking down memory lane, getting all those nostalgic feels, especially if you were here for some of these older launches. It's just kind of fun to look back and yeah, reminisce a bit. But let me know if you want to see maybe a quad video, because I do have some smaller palettes, or anything 5 and smaller maybe. If you'd be interested in that, or any ideas you want for content, let me know. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.